Welcome into the Boise State Game Pants Esports Arena. It's time for the grand finals of this week's Esports Tower Valorant Rumble. Last time we brought you play for both groups A and B, where we had some very exciting games leading up to tonight's grand finals. And joining me for the first time is Jared Baratel Castiglione, ready to check out some high-action Esports Tower gameplay. Let me tell you, Baratel, even though these are high school students, they are absolutely insane players. We've seen some absolutely crazy moments throughout the group stage. The fact that we got down to 2 teams is very impressive because any of these players could be arguing that they should deserve this championship. So you're in for a wild time, and I guarantee you're going to leave saying, wow, I feel bad that I'm 10 years older than these kids, and they're all better than me.
Somehow, that's just the case for every kid, though.
Yeah.
If this is the intro music to this, I'm beyond hyped, actually. That was kind of pumping.
Yeah, these kids, they make sure that the music never stops. It's absolutely impressive. I know a name you want to watch out for is Maeve. She is absolutely incredible. Was our ICCU Player of the Week last week. And just continuing a string of female Esports Tower Valorant players that we have seen. These players are ready to go. It's the Surge and the Monsoon, ready to battle it out here. Baratel is going to call all the action alongside Fish, and I cannot wait to check it out. Before we jump into our grand finals, though, we do want to show you how these teams got here. The Surge and Monsoon showed dominance in their group stage and took home a chance to battle for the championship tonight. The Surge had a great run, displayed a lot of control and team coordination. The Monsoon had the tougher group overall in Group B, but showed how strong they were. The Lightning were the team that challenged them the most. It was a crazy 13-11 scoreline on Ascent. But the Monsoons went the distance. They picked up the W, and now they've got a chance to get a championship here today. And it was a ton of fun, and I can't wait to see what we see here, because we saw 4Ks with pistols last week, Baratel. It was wild.
Okay. Looking forward to it, and I think a big thing when it comes to this as an opportunity is there is so much of a huge community behind this professional scene, and it's just because it's become such a quickly adorned fan favorite for these kind of competitive games. Me and my friends try to play on a high echelon. It's not nothing but entertaining to watch, but I guarantee that everything that we try to do in our scrims, if you will be all capitalized here with these 2 teams.
Yeah, and these kids, they totally get it. I remember seeing last week someone in the chat was saying, I didn't have the best game, but I only care about winning. And as my team wins, I don't care if I'm 0-30 or 30-0, and that's all that matters. You hate the guy who's like, I'm higher on the leaderboards. What's going wrong? So I love that these kids absolutely understand the importance. We get to Doc's keys, though, which are also very important in Valorant. Callouts are critical. Watch corners, call out ability use, and track enemy econ. It's all brought to you by the Esports Tower. Score pro advice at esportstower.com. Improve your game sense, improve your team play, and improve your performance under pressure. You can match with great players and professional coaches to help you rank up. Game 1 between the Surge and the Monsoon. Grand finals. The Esports Tower Valorant Rumble going to Haven first, Baratel. What do you like about Haven?
I think it just offers so much of a nice diversified front. You can do a lot of things in terms of waiting for your opponent to make a mistake. It's very much a chess board kind of map in which, hey, you just move your pawn in a wrong position, take advantage of it 100%. It's not where you have to be forced to do anything. You can just sit by idly and wait for a team to make a blunder here.
Yeah, this is definitely a series that could go the difference. As I talked about Maeve, someone you want to watch out for the Monsoons. Cozy is the player you probably want to watch out for the Surge. Very strong in that Sentinel role, can control bomb sites all by himself, but also can be the top fragger for his team if he's able to pop off. So Cozy and Maeve could be kind of the 1v1 we want to keep our eyes on here early in the first couple rounds.
Yeah, and that's such an interesting point to make, because you can have these duelists, these initiators come by, be that point man in the kind of first entry. But if you have a Sentinel that's just on top of things, the amount of information you give your team just gives so many more informed decisions for your team to make.
Another player you probably want to watch out for, especially early, is Vapor on that Jet. He was our champion in our initial Rumble, and he often picks up first blood. So that's a player you definitely want to be watching out for if you are the Monsoons, as he can absolutely turn that fight in that first blood situation.
Surge is, I have bias now. Surge has a Sky. I'm speechless. I didn't think that I was going to see this on this kind of broadcast, but thank you, Surge, for enabling my dreams to come true. Gonna have the dog totem come out here. A little bit of scouting opportunity. No one challenging A at all, and this is exactly what I was kind of talking about. We see Monsoon completely on the lurk, not really making any sort of forced decisions, not pushing to any point without any sort of information. But Vapor dangerously watching this door, could be able to get their first elimination of the round, but no, gets met out, and a Frenzy v Frenzy will go to the way of Surge. No, it's going to be a huge opportunity for the Monsoons to push themselves now onto the other side, and great opportunity for them here. going to go with a little bait and switch. They push some utility out and maybe some resources from Surge to go to the C site, but now they've completely flipped the script, and they might catch the Surge on their toes.
Yeah, nobody's looking, from the Surge. We just see Maeve take a little bit of damage, so it's not quite a full 5 health members there. But, yeah, nobody's over on A. That was a great rotate back after they picked up first blood.
Are going to put down some of that Viper diffusion, if you will, the Viper wall, as well as that orb will give you some of that decay, which will put you in a very vulnerable state. But at the same time, 2 flankers will be met, and it's a nice 1-for-1 trade. Now putting 3 versus 4. Health totals will favor that of the Monsoon. They are also able to just sit back and idly wait for the counter rotation or the retake from the Surge, but with the health advantage going over to the Monsoon, it's going to be a pretty tall order for Surge. They're going to push in with the next couple seconds as we hear that beeping get faster and faster, but no, the Met with the turret as well as the rest of the bullets coming out here, and it's crazy. This Reyna is popping off, and that is almost a 4K going to be taken away. Craze is going to top that off, and that is a first blood going over the Monsoons.
That really just, Colby set the tone for the round with a great pick on to Vapor, who, as we mentioned, is usually looking for first blood for the Surge. And that double back over to A, you saw multiple members of the Surge get caught, shot in the back, not knowing where to look. Just a great overall first round for the Monsoons.
Yeah, and it just kind of capitalized off the fact that they were able to get that pick towards garage doors. Afterwards, they did that complete rotation to A site. And because there wasn't a general or default defense from the side of the Surge, they were caught with their pants down. Here comes another standard defense. Going to put down a little bit of opportunity here. It does look like Dolbot wants to go forward with getting that ultimate orb. The faster that this Viper can get an ultimate, the stronger their defense on any of these crucial points can be. But it doesn't look like it's going to be met with opposition. Lear will be met with the spray of bullets. Going to keep the frenzies. Colby going to make the first one happen yet again. Goes forward with the shots. Cannot get them. Unfortunately, Frenzy does fire the greatest, but when it comes to the accuracy compared to the other pistols, it does suffer in that aspect. Going to go for the plant anyway. Maeve going to drop this down right now. Going to force the reaction from the side of Surge. And it is going to be quickly an opportunity for them to keep the points locked down and loaded. Another elimination going over to Monsoon, and they make it an easy 3v4. No, yes, actually dropping down from heaven and going to be met down there in the under part of that carriage will be a huge opportunity for either team. But after all the dust settles, it is a 1v3, and that will quickly be swept away. Another round going over to Monsoons.
Well, Berta, I know you talk about your team. I've been told the Monsoons, they've been practicing a lot. They're looking for some outside scrims, if you're trying to get the floor wiped with you.
I'm a pretty mean Yoru, so we'll see. I do like the way that they're approaching things. It's very calculated. It's very synonymous with that of teams that are competing in Masters right now. They don't make any forced decisions until they have the maximum amount of information they can gather, and they're using their utility in such a great way to garner that without putting themselves in a vulnerable position.
One difference from our matches last week. This will be a best of 3, so the Surge have plenty of time to kind of turn things around here. And of course, we're only 2 rounds in, but right now I love how the Monsoons have been playing with their very aggressive rotations, especially towards that A site. You can see the Surge doubling up on defense right now.
It's always a great sign to see when you have your Reyna as an entry point, get an ultimate, and be able to use it on second round. This is going to be pretty tricky here in the next couple seconds. Here comes shots, but they weren't actually walking their flank. And my goodness, Viper is going to completely wipe the floor with that entrance, and it's going to be a nice 3 for 3, and it's going to be something that maybe it's something that Monsoons need to consider doing a little bit better of in the future. Of course, you did have that hyper-aggressive ultimate available. You still got to check your corners, though.
Yeah, it's the first time we've seen the Monsoons kind of caught off guard and not check either corners. We talked about it, though. Vapor is the guy who can almost, be that top fragger for the team in his own right, and 1v4 there, nearly pulled it off. So if you don't kill Vapor first, I think the Surge have a better chance of winning that round.
Caught with trying to use the bird for the blind down, and it is going to be a 1v2. Unfortunately for them now, Surge will strike back, and after the first round, you usually kind of chalk up the second round to go whoever won. That may evidently be the case, as now the Surge is trying to get some things happening with an equal loadout for them now.
And it's hard to say because I feel like we haven't got a true indication with non-pistol loadouts who the more skilled, shooting team is. Because that was just, Vapor just caught him off guard. Nobody peeked him.
Yep.
This is probably the first round where if we get another dominating performance by the Surge, I might say, okay, Monsoon's got to definitely maybe think about a different plan of action.
Exactly. Now that both teams are kind of on equal footing for their allowance, if you will, this can start showing who has the better gunplay, and then strategy comes into play as well. All 5 members going to see long, and this is a huge opportunity for them to commit to this or to continue to split. Recon Dart will come out. Does look like Cozy's going to be here waiting in the wings, not able to be spotted out just yet. Goes for a shot versus turret and turret, but here comes the knives, and they are out. The blind will come out as well. Air burst, and from behind the flank, and Colby will instantly shut down that pivotal ultimate, completely nullifying that for being a huge opportunity, but it doesn't matter. Colby was there in the wings to get the accurate shots, but after that, and the dust settles, it's now just a 1 versus 1. Lear comes out on the other side of these Radiant boxes, and this is going to be huge. And then actual headshot lock-on, and that will prove yet again that Surge, yes, they are able to maybe succumb to the pistol deficit, but once they get some loadout in their firepower, they're playing on this evil playing field.
Yeah, just a great play by Colby here as well. I'll be honest, I'm the type of player who I would probably just straight up challenge that as opposed to flanking around. So really good job, because you're going to see Colby has no idea where they're coming from.
Right.
They just look off to the side. They're trying to peek. Great job by Cozy showing a little bit more restraint than I would, because I would just run right at him and just try and say, I'm the superior player. I'm going to gun you down. But great use of your surroundings, use of the line of sight. I really like that play.
Cozy, on the Killjoy specifically, you have to kind of think outside of the box, because you're not designed to challenge things head on. You're supposed to use intel and information to garner an advantage, and that's exactly what they're doing. Dotbot completely nullifying A from being utilized, saying, hey, if you want to come in here, you're going to go down to 1 HP, and I just have to breathe on you the wrong way, and you'll fall over. Does look like they're going to say, yeah, maybe we should reconsider this as an opportunity. Colby going for a lurk position on this A long site can be huge to prevent the rest of their team from being flanked on. I mean, we've already seen 2 rounds go by the way of Surge for the fact that Monsoons is not really so keen on watching their flanks, and this might be the adjustment they need to make.
Yeah, the Surge feel, I think they wanted to go A, and as you said, with the ult coming out, they kind of have just got stuck there. You saw Colby with the pistol as well, which is going to put them at a definite disadvantage.
Peeking out of the wall could be huge, and here comes the rest of the shots. It's pistol versus AR, and that's not going to go very well to the members of the pistol gang. Does not matter, though, as the rest of everything comes out. They actually pick up the Ares, and the massive amount of bullet spray from that gun is going to be huge. They go for the 2 right clicks, and you have to be kidding me. I'm new. I doubt it.
Yeah, I have a hard time believing that. I mean, it's just a great use of that ult right there, and it just kind of confused the Surge. I think they had a game plan in mind, and as soon as that first game plan got nullified, they really didn't have a great place to go.
I really have to respect the ability to just use what's in front of you. I think both members from the remaining forces of Surge were able to say, well, our guns are on reload status, so do we take these crucial seconds to do so? No. Let me pick up the guns the guy I just fragged down on, that way I don't have to reload, because he didn't use his whole clip on me.
That's one of the hardest part about FPSs. And it's beat into your head if you played some of the Call of Duty games. Switch to your pistol. It's faster than reloading, but still, I find myself in situations where I'm like, no, I'm just going to reload my Phantom. That's way easier. And so that's just great game sense by players of the Surge, as you mentioned.
I've had to personally unbind my reload key. I've forced myself to be caught with my pants down, putting bullets into my gun as I'm getting, buffeted with bullets. And it's just a matter of adapting to what your weaknesses are. Doesn't look like the ulti orb will be available on A long, so Colby and his gang need to be very aware. Someone's nearby to pick up that crucial resource. Here come the Astra detersions. The Lear will come out as well. Stepping on that poison field could be detrimental, not only to the Tootsies, but to your health bar as well. As Surge will continue to hold this front. They will lose 1 in the trade. It is a 4 versus 4. No, actually make that a 4 versus 3, as now Monsoon's retaliation is huge here, looking for a flank opportunity. Contra going to put out the blind, not be able to get anything because the cover is there, and all 4 members of Monsoon are patiently waiting for the moment to strike, to pounce. Not necessarily of the same style as a Monsoon. Monsoons just kind of roll in, but I like the way they're patiently waiting to attack the coastline.
You got to have all eyes on Vapor here if you're a Surge fan. I think the longer Vapor stays alive, the better chance the Surge have of handing this round.
Nice rotation to B. They do get the spike down, and after that, it's a 2 versus 1. Health bars do favor that of Monsoons, but it's actually not going to be enough. As I was just about to mention, health bars don't matter if you can line up the shots. Cray's going to look for maybe just a reset. They can go for the defuse, a fake defuse. Here comes the Hunter's Fury 1. Here goes the second one. They actually caught him mid-tailwind. You are absolutely kidding me. Both of these Sova players playing out of their mind.
Yeah, I was wondering if he was going to retreat for the Hunter's Fury, and this is a great play, as you mentioned, catching a mid-tailwind. But still, like I said, if Vapor's alive, you got to like the Surge's chance.
And what a great play. You know, when it comes down to two players, Sova was never in position to hold the front with Killjoy. So a little bit of mixed communication. If you want to hold those flank opportunities or the counter rotation or the retake, you have to watch the entry point for where you assume those players are going to be, A, B, or C entry point. But the fact of the matter is they were able to lock down that Hunter's Fury. That second shot, it's such a scary thing to go for a Hunter's Fury in a 1v1 because you're caught with your pants down with your bow out versus a high-capacity rifle. You could be eating crow there if you miss your Legolas shots.
Yeah, I think if he doesn't hit that second one, Vapor probably killed him. So that's a very risk-reward play. But, hey, I mean, if you pull it off, it was a great job by Cruz, and I think it probably gave the Monsoon some of that momentum back because they were starting to falter after those first two rounds, which we talked about. You win pistols, you usually get the second one for free.
Yeah, it's typically the case. Your margin for winning that second round after not having any firepower is pretty rough, but both walls coming out from Viper as well as the Astra. Looks like this is going to be the contention point as A, and bullets, as you can hear, spray wildly across the whole board, but no one's faltered just yet. There are some members limping. Here comes the Sky healing, and this is why it's good to have either Sky or Sage on your field. You get the health reset, but unfortunately it does not matter if you met the opposition that is Monsoon. 4v4, here comes the Killjoy ult as well. Going to detain anyone who's locked in, connect to get out of it. Vapor! Fantastic rotation. They know that they were being shepherded out of that Killjoy ultimate, and they were just able to walk themselves into it. And unfortunately, we're able to try and get some lurk opportunity on the side of Monsoon. They quickly got found out. And now, even though it's toe-to-toe, it looks like Surge has got a lot of tricks up their sleeve, if you will, to put the rounds in their favor.
Yeah, Surge has been practicing for the last 3 weeks for this opportunity. The players have kind of gotten themselves into those roles like we've talked about and improving together. And when you have a fragger like Vapor, everything usually falls into place a lot faster.
Yeah. I mean, and that's why we see Vapor on Jet, right?
Yep.
Because they have the most influential dueling ultimate of the game. That kind of movement available in her kit in a shooter like this is borderline insane. You should not be able to move as quickly as Jet can in a tactical shooter where your momentum is garnered over time. But that's just my opinion.
I will say, you got to watch out for Maeve with that Ghost. They got a 4K last week with the Ghost.
Okay.
So if there's someone for the Monsoons and kind of answer Vapor's style, it's going to be Maeve.
And I mean, I like anyone brave enough to play Astra in a competitive sense because that agent is insane. You have to have a galaxy brain to be able to perform well, and it looks like that's exactly what's going to start happening. Putting some of those dominoes in place to start falling and make Surge fall on the defense, but only 2 members of Monsoon being taken out quickly there. No, make it 3, and it looks like they're now collapsing on the remaining 2. It's going to be a 5 versus 2. And granted, it's not an impossible order to fulfill, but it's a pretty tough one at that. Here comes the slow lurk. They know that they're somewhere here on this side of the map. Maybe they did have some people in the wings defending the other side. Got to watch your flanks. Here goes around the boxes. Was able to find one. Here comes the shots as well, and that's going to be a free takeaway. As Vapor's going to continue to pad the stats, may go for the 4K themselves here. It does look like Scythe only has the pistol in their arsenal. And there goes the 4K as well, a flawless at that. And that'll be the first of hopefully many to see from either team.
Yeah, and really just a great job here by the Surge. I think these last 4 or 5 rounds, they've really kind of proven themselves. I would say the slight favorite so far, at least on this first map. They've just had, I think, had a little bit better team play and coordination and just kind of trapping off the Monsoons with their abilities.
And it's just kind of it's a matter of draft in some instances. They really are utilizing the agents that they put themselves onto the map with to great effect. We see Surge often going for some cheeky plays. They do only have one duelist on their team, but the rest of their members can almost be a pseudo-duelist with the fact that they have that AoE Sky healing. And then beyond any shadow of a doubt, they have so much obscurity available in their kits that it's forcing Monsoon into these weird and almost 100% disadvantageous pushes onto these points, and they're trying to mix things up by going to C, but Surge is able to sniff this out almost immediately and puts some crucial members there on defense. The joke is over. Here comes the run it back on one side, and it's just a Vapor show. The rodeo will go down. To take it back will be taken back to the point where they started the ultimate, but Vapor a little bit hurt. Not really worse for wear. They do still have the AoE healing possibly on the wings, but a 1-for-1 trade, and it's going to be a 1 versus 4 opportunity. It's possible that we can see things pop off. I know we've talked about how devastating Maeve can be on this Astra, so we'll have to see if they're up to the order to this round. Oh, nope. Unfortunately, I didn't want to say anything. I didn't want to jinx it. Caster Curse is a real thing. I wanted to see if maybe they went for that quick flick, but a nice rotation, and again, Surge really putting Monsoon in a position where they are forced to react. It continues to prove to be the benefit of Surge. Monsoon has great intentions when it comes to their plays, but I don't know if it's the pacing or the commitment to the plays itself. We saw 4 or 5 members holding into that corner of C long. When you're challenging a point like that, you have someone hold that angle. And then, you know, if they have a marshal or an operator, maybe even a sheriff, and the rest of the team bullets onto the point. So that way, that person holding the long angles can hold some other more opportune angles on the point itself. So maybe it's, again, lack of communication or a possible just lack of pacing. But if they pick up their tempo, they might have a lot more agency what happens in these rounds.
And I do like Dotbot continuously denying the A-long ult orb from the side of the Monsoons as well. And I think that's a great job of, I mean, talk about it all the time in games like this, having your ult up more often is going to make your just that much harder to take down.
And just like that, 2 members are going to be taken away from the roster. Wait, no, I blinked for a second. I'm sorry, folks. 4 or 5 members going away, and it was almost a flawless, but they'll take the 4 alive on the roster for a free or not so free W there. 9-3 after the dust settles, and this is coming close to the swap. It's going to be a huge opportunity for maybe the momentum to reset. We do often talk about how Valorant as a game, despite it being round by round, is a very momentum-based game. So it is possible with that quick reset that Monsoon can start getting things going in their favor here.
No, and it was, again, we saw this, I think, round 3 or 4 with Dotbot, where he used the ult, he forced them to go off of A, and then they just walked right into Vapor. It's almost like a minute of deja vu there. If the score was the same, I believe we were just watching a replay.
They know that they're on ulti or 30 health, and they can't keep getting away with this Dotbot. And they don't get away with it, actually. The push forward with the Reyna. Colby doing what they can, dodging away from the blind as well. Top fragger, and this is exactly why they're playing the Reyna. Pick up the remnants of the guns available to them, and it is a 3 versus 5. The Lear will come out, not really get anything too important here, but they do go for the plant. They know someone's up in heaven. Here comes the Alladrone to scout things out a little bit further, and a little bit more of that shading being done to the full picture, and Surge knows what they have to deal with. But unfortunately for them, it is a 2 versus 4.
Yeah, I mean, but I'm new in Vapor, probably the 2 guys you want on the Surge. They've been consistently probably the top fraggers for the side of the Surge. So those are the guys you probably want to watch out for here.
Going forward, take out that recon dart there, and unfortunately they were distracted, got caught out looking at that recon dart, and it does go the way of Monsoon. Did want to maybe try to make an effort to even these rounds up, but this is the last round in the half, and if they can get themselves to a 7-5, it feels so much better than an 8-3. And this is always the kind of pivotal scoreline that we see as this possible 8-3. If it does go in their favor, they put themselves that 1 point closer, of course. But it's so much more of a mental boon for them going into the swap.
Yeah, and I'll be curious when we do swap if the Monsoons carry over that pistol dominance we saw in the very first round of that game, because you win pistols, that's almost a second round. You can go from 7-5 to 7-7 in a heartbeat here. As Dotbot this time is able to get away. Trying the same thing once again, and this time not able to punish him.
Using the detainment here from the side of attack, and Monsoon really want to make a point to have this be their period or punctuation in the half. The knives are out as well. and we got to be watching the rodeo that is the Vapor one. Here comes the shots there, though. Unfortunately for them, that's going to be 2 members over the wall. Vapor, how do you do it? I'll never understand. Evening things out now. It's a 3 versus 3. No, they still have the Sky available to them, which means they continue to have a medic on the floor. They push forward and go all knives out. Push things to a 1 versus 3, but unfortunately for them, here comes the Hunter's Fury. He's going to be flanked from A-Long shortly, though, and that's exactly the spot you end up in if you don't stop that ultimate or get out those shots early enough. They do have enough time to defuse, and that will go over to Surge, putting themselves on that very powerful 8-4 lead.
And that was actually something I was going to say before we saw Cozy with it, is we hadn't seen anybody with that operator really, or I mean very few snipers at all. And you would think maybe for the Monsoons, with how you kept trying to kill Dotbot on A-Long, you would have somebody who could be your opper for your team and maybe able to put yourselves immediately in a 5v4 with the power of that gun.
Yeah, it's kind of a spotlight, right? The operator always has a spotlight effect. I mean, we even saw Cozy with operator go forward with 2 eliminations with the pistol in their arsenal in their hands. And it's just a matter of preference. Operator can be quite devastating in the right hands, but when you pull it out, everyone knows it. Everyone wants to watch those fantastic flicks from the operator. And you know, personally, I never want to pick it up because I don't want people to laugh at me.
That is totally fair, but I mean, you know, it has that legacy for a reason, right? Because
exactly.
it can turn the fight, and so I think that might be something, especially defending it, if Monsoons want to hold C, you might want to eventually have somebody pick up an operator, because I have not seen a sniper for them this round.
Yeah, and that's tough. Now that we've kind of swapped sides, as far as a draft advantage, I have to give it over to Surge. They had 2 really impactful agents to help themselves defend easily. But on the side of Monsoons, they have 2 duelists, and that could be the detriment to them. Fortunately for them, they do actually walk into a waiting trap unaware that there was someone hiding behind those radiant boxes, and now things are going to go push forward. Spike still in the hands of Vapor, not going to be able to put it down just yet, but this could be a bait. They do go for the plant here, and it is down. It's going to be a 2 versus 3. Those Nanostorm grenades are just so pesky and do so much damage that if you get caught by a tick of it, you better run for the hills, because there's going to be some fire afterwards.
It does feel like Monsoons might be the better pistol team, too. You see both I'm New and Vapor very low.
Oh, what's this rotation? Vapor again, completely showing off here. Unfortunately, they had to go with the reload, and karma is what karma does, and it will get you sometimes. But a fantastic play from both, and a few possible left clicks difference between this team going, or this round going Surge's way versus Monsoon. But a good showing. Now that Monsoon got that round win, they can beef up their defense quite substantially to make up for the fact that they don't have the most defensive agents on their team.
Yeah, and I mean, we talked about, you know, the swapping weapons instead of reloading. Unfortunately, the only time that doesn't apply is the pistol round. And I think that Vapor got caught reloading. I mean, nothing you can do in that situation, but you're right. 2 more bullets in the clip. I think the Surge win that. And so, again, it's going to come down to somebody for the Monsoons has to answer that duelist potential of Vapor, or I think in the long run, the Surge are going to have that advantage.
And this is something to note that maybe not be intrinsically apparent, but coming from perspective and personal experience, as well as watching things on the maybe bigger stages, having the mentality to go for a 3K and then lose it out, but continue to be top fragger on each round, you have to have so much mental resilience in this game and do really well about keeping your emotions in check. Unfortunately, that may not always translate to having the round checked in your favor, and it looks like despite the availability for Monsoon to get a bigger paycheck for this round, they've struggled to get themselves in a safe spot.
I do have 2 members of the Surge at about 30% or lower, so it is almost a 3v3 in terms of overall health.
Here's another
so that
shot.
happens.
Dotbot, they are going to go for a trade, but at this point with the members disadvantage, going 1-for-1 is not always a good idea, but continuing to do so puts a lot of emphasis on whether or not Cozy as well as their Sova can hold things together. I'm New did so well on the other side of this map, and they're going to continue to hold this. They're going to wait for the defuse to start. What patience and reverence will pay off in dividends, and fantastic play from I Knew. I truthfully don't believe the name.
Yeah, that's, you know, no, there's no way, right?
No way.
Maybe it came from some other games, and they did have some skill from there, but yeah, to have that patience to not only get not fooled by the fake defuse, but wait out the real one,
and then just pop up exactly when you need to.
We're on to you.
Yeah, sorry, you're not getting away with this. And that's such a cool thing when it comes to this game compared to maybe some of the other tactical shooters, is a lot of that experience can transfer over in the gunplay, but the way that the game works in comparison for pacing, it is a lot different. I mean, you very rarely have the opportunity to catch someone unaware when they're going for a defuse in Counter-Strike and games of the like, but the whole faking defuse mentality and the ability to kind of sniff that out is such a huge kind of difference to be adapted to when it comes to Valorant.
Yeah, there's multiple skills at Valor. I mean, gunplay is the most obvious one, but, you know, situational ability, as you mentioned, the fake defuse. There's a lot of things that even if you're not the best, you know, gun rate player in the world.
Okay, I respect it.
Unfortunately, no one came his way.
For those that are unaware, I am 100% biased to shotguns and shotgun use. I understand that they're notoriously bad, but that won't stop me from using them.
Shotguns are always a weird thing in games, right?
They can't be too strong, because then they'll just be too strong.
But then, like, you're like, they're shotguns, like they should, you know.
Oh, waiting in the wings, and it actually pays off. And in a blink of an eye, ladies and gentlemen, 3 members from Monsoon are evaporated from the map. They're going to have to wait till next round to come back and even play the game. And this puts the spot of Monsoon, the spotlight on these remaining players. Yes, Colby, as well as their Killjoy, can continue to do things. And unfortunately for them, Vapor is exactly where they least expect it. Caught yet again unawares, a flawless. And yes, they did get a 3K. Vapor could have maybe got the 5K, but they'll help their team pad their stats too.
And now they have their ult up if they just want to pop that and maybe get another 3 or 4K. Just an unfortunate. I don't know if Colby checked or not. He was looking that way.
I don't think anyone checked.
Yeah, they just ran past him.
And that's kind of the thing, especially when it comes to B Point and Haven as a map overall. There are so many angles you have to be privy to, unless you succumb to those kinds of situations where one player takes out 2 in a matter of a second. Here comes the get out of my way, and again, we've seen Vapor be kind of pretty accurate with this ultimate, getting some really nice cheeky angles from going over some rooftops that you can scour over. The thing that I question is, last time we saw this ultimate, we saw Vapor dash melee range into someone and put themselves in a very not opportune position. Yes, they did eventually get the elimination, but they had a full reset of knives afterwards, and they couldn't do anything because they got taken out. Just like we just saw Contra take out a member of Monsoon, and it's going to continue to be something that could be a huge working point for the side of the Monsoon. They are so quickly and early in these rounds losing some very crucial point holders and members on their map. They are going to pop out the Viper ult just because it's going to be a defensive one, and it's going to be a huge one at that to maybe stop any sort of advance going forward. Beyond that, the knives are here, and they actually are, again, pushing themselves forward past the obscurity. No backup, no team to say, hey, I'm going to go for this. Can you back up my play? And now after all this, it is just going to be Dotbot and the team going to take out, of course, Colby, the last remaining member from the side of Monsoons. They tried their best to try and get themselves in a great position to recontest, but 1 versus 3, it's going to be a tall order for anyone in any sort of ranking.
Yeah, unfortunately, just, you know, 2v5 is already a hard spot to be in because you just saw Maeve got the kill and then immediately got shot in the back. And that is the one thing that we've seen Navy teams sometimes struggle with, is when you have the numbers advantage, you got to use them to your advantage. You just funnel in one at a time. That's how the team that's down multiple players can come back in. So I like a great job by the Surge. Okay, first the Jet went in, immediately followed up by the Killjoy, and there's just nothing you can do. You can't shoot 2 different angles at the same time.
Yeah, and truth be told, as I guess from a further out perspective, not so much as the on-the-ground front lines perspective, Monsoon only has a few rounds to get this figured out if they want to contest this map for the first point in the series, because Surge is quickly approaching that W category, and if they keep playing the way that they are, it's going to be something that's it's going to be a very, very hard task for Monsoon to crack the code of this Surge team.
Yeah, looks like we're going over to A, and Surge are now going to be caught defensively waiting, and Vapor's right there.
And again, pushing themselves forward. They had the opportune angle. Yes, they had the high ground, and yes, they just took out a member from Monsoon, giving information to say, hey, I think someone's up there, considering that's where I just died from. But at that point, you had so much more opportunity to go with those shoulder checks, those maybe jump jiggles, if you will, to go around the corner peaks without having to commit yourself fully to a 1v1. And with how accurate Vapor is, I am starting to question whether or not their overzealousness is getting a little bit better to them. Yes, it's 11-5, but we've seen reverse sweeps from an 11-2 standpoint here at this very broadcast. So maybe a little bit of a situation where then you start checking things. They do get taken out, but it's not going to matter as they do clutch it up, actually. And that's going to be yet another round for Surge. And Monsoon is starting to figure out how these cogs work and how the clocks tick when it comes to the members of their enemy here, their adversary. But it might be a little bit too late on this particular map. But, I mean, once you start figuring out the schematics for how the clock works, it's only a matter of time before you can start taking advantage of it.
Yeah, I mean, I think the Surge have done a great job the last few rounds, though, of using their alts defensively while attacking, because they just don't have the, you can't push into the Killjoy, so that's kind of how they ended up winning that one.
Right.
So I just think it's a great job by the Surge using their resources. I think they've used their resources in a fantastic way in this first game.
Yeah, and here comes the meeting of the minds as well. Looks like Vapor wants to continue to be that front, and again, that's why so well suited for this duelist role. Here comes the knives out again, go up over their own cloudburst, and they're going to continue to sweep things forward, actually miss all 4 knives, and pushing forward into the welcoming arms of Monsoon. It does result in a 2 versus 3, and here comes some more of that decay opportunity for this team Surge to take advantage of. It's not going to be something that's easily done, but Maeve can do this if they push themselves forward with the reverence that they need to. Go for the shots, and they actually take out one, and lining it up just like you said, Fish. Could have been a huge point of contention, but they will actually take that around, and Surge will take first blood in the series.
Yeah, great job by the Surge, but the Monsoon, as we talked about, they have the tools in their toolkit. They won both pistol rounds, which can easily turn into 2-round wins, so they just got to figure out those middle rounds. I think the alt usage by the Surge was fantastic as well. Well, Baratel, we talked about it a lot. Going at it alone can only get you so far. Ultimately, if you want to increase your chances of success, you have to level up your teaming skills. We saw that with the Surge, teaming up together, using their ult to just kind of to protect the point instead of going for all the kills. We can see how talented that team is. The Esports Tower really takes time to create teams of well-matched teammates. Give a shout out to the coaches. If you're watching and you haven't checked out the Esports Tower clubs, you should. It's the fast track to rank up. Well, that's going to do it for Game 1. It is a best-of-3 grand finals here for the Esports Tower. And I think, like you mentioned, the Monsoon are getting there to be able to crack this and easily get us to a 3-game series. I just think that, unfortunately, they just ran into too many defensive ults at the end, and Vapor just kind of felt like that difference maker. If Maeve or Karma or Colby, all players who we saw step up individually, can have multiple 3K rounds, I think the Monsoon have a very, very good chance on our next map to win.
Yeah, they just need to find out what store Vapor's getting their backpacks from, and then maybe put it on one of their duelists. But yeah, as we clearly saw, they struggled at first to try and get things on an even playing field. But towards the later stages of that map, I think they started to figure some things out. Some things started to click within their teams. So hopefully they're able to transition that into map 2.
Well, any final advice you give them before we, let them take a break on how they can maybe get back in this series?
Yoru. Thoughts?
I know you're.
That's the response from all of Twitch chat.
Exactly. I mean, come on. We know you're the memer, Baratel. I should have asked you for advice. Well,
that's true.
Don't listen to Baratel, or maybe do. I don't know. But can the Monsoons get us to a Game 3, or will the Surge get a 2-0 sweep and win our grand finals this week? Don't go anywhere. Find out next after this break.
BFC is launching the greatest events of the summer, so gamers know that they are never alone. Brought to you by Antares Gaming and Never Alone Gaming, gaming teams that build a better future for mental health. And Esports Tower, paving the way for education in esports for the youth. We want the community to know that we stand together and we are united in spreading mental health awareness. We are also proud to announce that we are expanded into new games. This summer, gaming events are back.
Come on! That's insane! Oh my God! No! Oh my goodness!
Tried to keep it in play.
Kyle! It's over! Yodi gets it! Trish is your winner! He goes down 1 HP! Oh no!
The news says Gen Z is struggling. I've got news for them.
I wait tables, but last week I built a field hospital.
I put out a forest fire.
I stopped 1,000 attackers.
And a natural disaster.
I've saved lives.
And led a team on patrol.
I serve.
Well, I go to school full-time.
While I work full-time.
The greater the challenge, the stronger we become.
Welcome back to this week's Esports Tower Valorant Rumble Grand Finals here between the Monsoons and the Surge. We just saw the Surge with a dominant win to start things out, and now they're looking to win this series 2-0 and called themselves champions for this week. Bishop Baratel still here to call all of the action. Pretty Surge dominant for the most part, Baratel, but I think the Monsoons, just a couple of minor things that if they work on, which are just, making sure they check their corners, because Vapor probably got, I would say, maybe 5 to 10 kills just because simply someone just forgot to check that angle. And then I think if someone's able to shut down Vapor, I think that game can definitely go the side of the Monsoons. They are very, very close, I think, to cracking that code.
Yeah, and even with that victory, I think there are some key points to note as well. For the Surge to continue their dominance so far, it kind of is in contrast to that of Monsoon. We saw a lack of pacing and a lack of zealousness when it came to Monsoons and how they approach the attacker side of things. But on the contrast, we saw maybe a little bit of overzealousness from that of Surge, and beyond that, we saw a lack of default starts to both sides, really. I mean, completely respect the fact you want to go forward with a strategy that you've been practicing. Kudos. I think that's awesome to continue paving your own way. But these default starts for at least a map that's as well researched as, Haven, Ascent, maybe even Bind for that matter, they're default starts for a reason, because they give you the option to say, well, they're not going here. We now have the opportunity to flank this other side of the map and get those opportunities where we saw even Vapor put themselves in a nice little cubby and get a nice 1-for-2 without even a moment's notice given over to Monsoon.
Yeah, and I did think that the other sort of, unsung hero for the side of the Surge was Dotbot just continually denying that A-long ult orb. And unfortunately, it was one of those things where the Monsoons, there was a couple times that Dotbot barely got away, less than 30 HP, but it's just one of those where in games like Valorant, if you do the same thing over and over again, if the other team doesn't punish you, that's probably a bad sign. So if we see Dotbot in that similar situation on our next map, I would love to see the Monsoons be able to get a pick 1 or 2 times, and then it's going to make Dotbot double check, because we're going to go right into game 2 on Ascent.
Oh, let's go. This map is actually super fun to watch, because in addition to the default starts and how they end up working out, even mid-round, there are so many different opportunities for you to wiggle through an opponent's defensive line. And we'll have to see how things end up in terms of how they want to put their best foot forward. we've seen in the past, maybe from our own personal boys here at Boise State, a heavy emphasis on defending the wall for B, because all of it you can wall bang through. And having maybe an Odin or an Ares in your hands makes that a lot easier. We also want to take a note of what's being picked as far as the agents. Not too much of a mix-up, at least from what I can see. We do see a Cypher, which is a nice pickup, because having as much information as possible is huge, and that's exactly why, because you can use it just like that and just like that as well. It's going to be a huge turnaround, and I think Cozy's the front runner there for that. And no, it does actually look like it's Cruz going to push things forward and help keep things mitigated as far as this pressure. And look how many resources are being used just to deter the action from this attacker side. And Contra going to realize that maybe they're going to consider rotating somewhere else, willing to flex between this point on defending through B as well as rotating to mid and to market. This is the sign of someone who has a very firm grasp of what is possible in the game, and having that malleability really does show for a high performing player. And look at that. Go for the recon dart. They know someone's nearby. Let's see if they can get the shots, and a headshot will be met with information gathered. Yes, they were able to get an elimination, a 1-for-1, but the biggest thing they garnered was the fact that there were 2 members of the opposing team pushing through mid, and now it's up to the remaining members of their team to do with that information.
And I think someone we want to watch out for, we talked about, was Cruz. He is sort of stepped up as the in-game leader for the side of the Monsoon. So I would say the less tilted he is and then the more composed he can be, that's usually going to be a better result for your team.
And he's got the recon as well as 1 shark dart available. Only had 4 health chipped out. Did have some armor, so they were able to get a little bit of that available. It's going to be Ghost versus Ghost here around the corner, and a headshot will be met. Will he go for the 2? And they are able to do so. Karma putting the spotlight on themselves and saying, you know what, I may not be on an engager or an initiator, but I'm going to carry this round.
Yeah, that's the one thing I really like about the Monsoons is it feels like, you know, almost any player on this team can have this, you know, 2K to 4K pop-off round like we just saw from Karma. And I think that really makes the Monsoons a bit more flexible, where for the Surge, I think that, I mean, the rest of the team is very talented. It's just that Vapor might feel like there's a lot of pressure on him to get those 3K pop-offs.
I do want to remind everyone watching that this is maybe how things started for the last map, and we saw that Monsoon very comfortable on both pistol as well as the pistol round following. And it just might be that Surge is just not a pistol round team, and that's totally possible. So they don't have to deal with that for too often. A 1-for-1 trade towards the site, and the camera's still left alive. We'll continue to give information. He's going to call back. Maybe Karma realized that's not the best position for my utility here. They do know that there's some members here. Here comes the Allo drone as well. They're going to usually swing in with this as much as they can. They put the cage out to obscure a little bit more, but Heaven is still something they have to be careful of. They're going to push forward and immediately lock down that door. If they can get to it, they will lose 1 member to do so, but it's going to be worth it because it takes so many rounds to get through that door, and they're going to go for the plant right now, forcing, it looks like, Surge to respond with the quickness as they don't even have a member near the site.
They do get to pick on to Cruz, though, in the back, and now somebody's up at Heaven, so Karma's got to be careful. He knows he's there, though.
We'll see if he can lock it down through the floorboards. This is always such a dangerous spot. You really have no information, and he knew he was there. It's going to be a 1-for-1 on the backside. Both members of the remaining teams are limping themselves to try and get this in. Contra using the Owl drone, peeking left, thinking maybe they're right. They heard maybe the ulti orb. No, they can't because it's already been claimed by the planting of the spike. And here comes more of these Astra abilities. It's possible that they are able to get things down. Mazecam could do something huge here. They were able to oh my goodness, they were able to bait out so many rounds from that of Contra and immediately just turn peek and go for a headshot. And another round win going over to the Monsoons.
Yeah, great job by Maeve ducking away from that recon drone. I mean, that's how we saw Contra find out the first members, because he had hit them with the recon dart. So denying that critical information, it allows Maeve to be able to pick up that second round. But as you mentioned, this is what we saw on our first map as well. Monsoon very comfortable on that pistol and then follow-up round. Now it's on to them to make sure they can kind of crush the Surge and really push this advantage.
Yeah, and it's always a question of, you know, similar spray patterns and guns consistently. I think that's why a lot of teams have a huge argument about whether or not they go for Vandal or Phantom. Phantom having the less spread but less damage as well. Vandal having a little bit more of an uncontrollable spray but just so much more damage. Oftentimes people argue about that all the time. Sage Wall being used in such a unique way, kind of get themselves the high ground that a Jet would offer you. And look at the respect. Karma knowing that it's possible for them to get flanked, putting resources behind them. And that's exactly a great idea. They were able to call out the mid rotation. And now that they've made a weak point in the armor that is Surge, they are going to push forward through that and hopefully get themselves a 3rd round win.
I think that's...
Oh, they were able to see it. They go for the shots and aren't able to get anything. They are able to light things up, but the return fire from Cruz is just insane. Here comes the curveball over the wall, goes for the blind, and he actually gets it off. I'm sorry, that was just so impressive. I've actually never seen a curveball used that way, and despite what a fantastic play, does end up in a 3rd round win for Monsoon. That was... I've never seen that.
No, we've seen a couple of impressive things.
To think that people can consider curveball to be a vertical-based flash it's astronomical to me, actually. Because usually most of the flashes offered in the game don't really have a lot of verticality. I mean, you have, of course, Sky, to some extent Yoru, despite people's chagrin with the character overall. Those are flashes that you often consider to be a high ground. Curveball, not to be one that you usually have to look high to avoid.
And I do feel bad for Dotbot as well. Just the smoke RNG of when it just barely popped up blocked him from shooting the first 2 players, and then unfortunately got caught out. That was just different timing patterns. He probably gets a double kill out there, I would think.
Comes another wall. Hopefully they're not going to put themselves in a dangerous position. This does end up doing so, and that's a Sheriff to the health bar there, unfortunately. And that's a risk that you run not having a lot of defensive utility. 5% of health left on does look like to be Sova from the side of Surge, and it could have been a huge trade opportunity for them. Colby going to be gravitated towards the middle of that orb, and Astra's such a fantastic enabler for the fact that they are able to do so many different things with these Starlight orbs. And just like that, Maeve getting themselves with firepower is able to take things in control, putting the Surge back on the back foot. A 2 versus 3 opportunity. Still have yet to put the spike down, but look at that ulti economy.
Yeah, the ults for the side of the Monsoons, I mean, they've done a great job of this time, not having those orbs stealing away from them. I think that from what we saw, with the ice wall kind of fits in. You can't do the same thing multiple times in a row in games like this because good opponents will always find you out. Unfortunately, that curveball, not what we were quite looking for. Still
doesn't matter. Karma's able to walk right into a Sheriff as well. And this just seems to be the name of the game, not anticipating a 1v1. As you're checking the corner, here comes the running back, going to go themselves underneath. And they need to be careful because they walk themselves right into an enemy Reyna. And now that information's given, the spike has been planted, and it's now forcing Surge to act, although they do have plenty of time to do so. The ticking time bomb is now that of the defender's Killjoy, and it's going to put some more emphasis on what they can do. Are they able to challenge? Cozy going to put the alarm bot down, not really needing to do much else beyond that. But the Astra's got the ultis here as well. And the orb met with things. Astra is going to take an ace, and Maeve completely taken over the round by themselves.
Yeah, that's something we kind of had challenged the Monsoons to find someone or multiple players on the team who can answer what Vapor could do. And Vapor's had a quiet first 4 rounds. And, I mean, Maeve showing why she's one of the best players in the Esports Towers, one of their best fraggers, just with the fantastic ace there, the 1v2 clutch win. And it's a fantastic play for Maeve and the Monsoons. They've figured things out in a hurry here, at least in our first couple rounds.
I'm adoring the way that these two teams play because they're using resources that most teams that we even see at the collegiate level use scarcely. And one of the keys to the game that we see from Doc often is the fact that you can't get another ultimate ability without using it. So use them when you can and use them smartly. And that's unfortunately going to be an elimination coming from Vapor. Going to be able to pick up a sniper rifle on the Jet can be so dangerous because of that quick repositioning. And we saw how eager they were to keep these corners locked down. Here comes the turret as well. Unfortunately, the wall bang will come through, and that's not something you want to see happen. 5 members will not be available for either team. The shots will be exchanged. And unfortunately for Vapor, they weren't able to get the elimination. In fact, they lost most of their health doing so. What a fantastic perspective from production. Huge shout out to watch that recon dart. And they're going to continue to push forward. Here comes a Sage Wall as well as some healing. They actually use that resurrection to try and get things back in their favor. The 3 versus 3 will be now the opportunity as a resurrection immediately comes out, and that's why you draft a Sage just in case one of your team makes an oopsie, you can pick up the scraps. But unfortunately, they still have Dotbot available on this team for the defuse, and it looks like they're going to go for it. Will they get disrupted? Doesn't look like they can even push through the obscurity, but they stop the defuse themselves and actually lose their life doing so. And it's now up to Vapor, 1 versus 2, and they are not able to clutch it up, unfortunately, as a 5th unanswered round goes the way of the Monsoons.
Hey, you have to wonder if Dotbot would have kept that defuse.
If you just kept it, you would have won.
I think they would have got. I mean, that's one of those things that you never know.
Hindsight's 2020,
hindsight's
right?
2020. It's easy for us to say, oh, you should have kept defusing, when I'd say 99% of the time the right play is to not keep defusing because you're not moving. But I think he probably, it would have been close.
I think there was just a gap in the communication because we saw Vapor push forward to challenge that challenge for the defuse. And I think ultimately, even if Vapor didn't get the elimination from who was peeking that arch, they would have taken the bullets to stop Astro from falling and still got that defuse. But now it's a matter of kind of perspective, because Surge are now approaching the unique opportunity to where if they want to invest money, it's going to cost them a future round if they don't end up getting some wins in their pocket. Luckily for Vapor, it doesn't matter because you get knives out regardless.
This would be the round where for Vapor, if you want to get the Surge back in it, you need like a 2 or 3K with your ult.
And they're not even approaching. I mean, we had mentioned between these games how maybe taking out Vapor could be a huge opportunity for success. They're completely figuring out where Vapor is and avoiding it 100% like the plague.
Yeah, they've done a great job of, neutralizing the aggression by just avoiding the aggressive player.
Great idea. Here comes the Hunter's Fury, though. Does not land on much. It will be able to get at least 1 bit of chip damage out. But during that whole phase, they realized there was a weak point in the front line of Surge. And yet again, they're now controlling the pacing of the game. I had mentioned how in the first map, they seemed to put themselves in the driver's seat as an advantage and then immediately hop out. They didn't strap in that 5-point harness. But this time, they're clicking their seatbelts all the way in. And if they could put a padlock on it, they would.
Yeah, there is something to be said. Of course, you can't just, hold W and hold down, spray on the LMG. But there is something to be said in games like this to be the aggressor, because it's so hard to react in tactical shooters when you're getting shot at. It's very rare that you'll win a gunfight that you're not the first person shooting in. And I think that's the great thing the Monsoons have done. They've avoided Vapor, but they've forced the rest of the Surge to be the reactionary player in gunfights, like we see right there.
It's tough, too, because they're fulfilling the natural role of attacker side so eloquently in the fact that they are controlling the pace of the game, and a lot of teams suffer to being like on a defender heavy map or an attacker heavy map because of the fact that you have to be able to either initiate some sort of aggressive defense front or be able to react and be malleable to that of the attacker side. And it's just a really, really tall order to sometimes fulfill, especially with how Monsoon continues to do so. But maybe they've started to figure out something as far as what plans may work against the plans of Monsoon, because they are now in the lead members-wise, and health total is also favoring them as well. It's going to be a 3 versus 4. Utility going to be used everywhere, but it does not look like it's going to matter much. Cozy will be able to go for a 1-for-1 trade, but with how many members are remaining, it's going to be a dangerous one. And look at the patience from I'm New. Again, holding themselves to the last moment to capitalize on it. They were looking for a 2K, and they are actually going for the second curveball. First one will hit themselves, but the second one will land its target. And now, first round going over to Surge means that they are able to get themselves a full buy, and it's going to go for a little bit of a mental reset as well for them.
Yeah, and a great job by the Surge being up players, being able to trade out those 1-for-1, still having an advantage. And that's just what we talked about a little bit as well, just not peeking the corners there from Karma the last I'm New to get the free gunfight win. We won't talk about the first curveball because the second one was just so fantastic.
Yeah, if your second one lands, the first one doesn't even matter. What happened there?
I definitely concerning.
That's a question for some lore there.
Yeah, that's one of those where you look in the back here and you're like, I'm just going to try and plant the spike because I don't know what happened over there.
Very early run it back from Team Surge, but I guess with some respect, Dotbot trying to get information with the tandem of that Phoenix Ultimate weren't able to get what they wanted, though, unfortunately. They did put themselves at a member's advantage, but I don't know. The Ultimate's a bit more reserved for an opportunity where you know where someone's at. You want to peek a corner without any sort of punishment available to you. Pushing on to B site. It looks like site wants to continue forward. alone as Maeve wants to hold this angle as much as they can without putting themselves at a risky spot. Door will be closed. And now things start swinging into action. We saw Karma holding this angle, one that not a lot of people do often check. And what if they are able to get some shots here and unfortunately get collapsed on by 2 members? The early shots were a huge indicator that someone was hiding down in that corner, and that's going to be a huge punishment. Here comes some more curveballs as well. 1-for-1 trades across the board, but at the end of it all, it's going to be Maeve versus the world. They are able to take out 1 and 2. Can they actually clutch this up for another clutch round this map? Here comes that orb to put things in perspective, but no, unfortunately, Cozy does not want to approach it. If they had gotten themselves caught up in that utility from Maeve, that would have been a done deal, because you are so hard pressed to move out of it.
Yeah, and Maeve, I mean, even despite not being able to pull off the ace, the clutch ace, I would still say it's kind of presented themselves as the answer to Vapor, but in a different way, right? Vapor was minding the first blood, get a couple kills, and then end up getting taken out. Maeve's more of like the cleanup specialist who ends the round with a majority of the kills and keeps the Monsoons in it.
Yeah, and that's such an important thing when it comes to an agent like Astra, because throughout getting consistent seconds in your dial, if you will, you have so much more agency to fulfill your role as a character in this game. Astra is one that can completely manipulate what's accessible in terms of the map, and the longer that she's alive, the more that she has to manipulate. Here comes double nanostorms, and unfortunately that Venn diagram won't be one of very much damage. It is something that gave a little spooks over to the side of Monsoon, but beyond that, not going to do much. Recon Dart will come out as well, and that Astro Wall from Maeve is going to be huge. It puts that entire section of the map as a no-no zone for that of Surge, and now it's up to Surge to consider maybe going somewhere else. And this is such a mind move, Fish. They've put their resources on one side of the map, and now they're trying to flip the script on the other side, but I think that Surge is privy to that, and they completely swept over as well to this market in mid-defense. They were not caught unawares by that play, and they're going to continue to hold a dominant front in terms of defense.
Yeah, great job reading that attempted rotation. That makes the Monsoon go all the way back to their spawn. And now they're probably going to have to push on B. There's not too much fortified defense over there, but in a 5v3, it's not the spot you want to be in.
No, nice cage towards the middle, but this is something that we've already seen before, and I'm sure that Surge is like, there's something eerily familiar about how this utility is being placed. Nice shots around the corner. The blind will come out from the side of both angles, and unfortunately, with that being said, it's only Maeve versus the world. 1 versus 3 are able to do some work. They don't have a lot of health to do so with. They're going to go for the plant, maybe for their points. No, they are actually able to bait the spike plant, and they are very aware of where possible rotations can come from. Time, unfortunately, will run out, though, and looking for exit kills. They're not able to find any just yet. Both teams respecting the gunfight prowess that the remaining members have. But what a quick, swift set of events here for the side of Surge, and you know, despite it not going so well the first 6 rounds of the map, they've definitely certainly got some sort of idea as to how Monsoon wants to approach Ascent.
Yeah, and unfortunately for Karma there, he just got caught with his utility out, and by the time he switched to his gun, then he got flashed. If he maybe had, I mean, of course, you're always trying to look for information, but you have to wonder, it is really coming down that sometimes Valorant, just a game of inches, and if you have your utility out for a split second longer than it needs to be, you can end up in a spot like that.
Not a lot left in the wheelhouse of availability. We have the Empress being used from the side of Monsoons. They want to continue to put a lot of their emphasis on this A point. Hopefully they will be able to realize that they can stick to it instead of getting caught out mid-rotation. And it does look like Vapor's in the wings waiting for the time to pounce. Goes right under, and here comes the Randall reset, we like to call it. Here comes the curveballs. Well, going to blind themselves. I am new, maybe new to Phoenix here, unfortunately. Going to blind not only themselves, but some of their team members. And that does give a huge moment to capitalize on the side of Monsoons. It is a great valiant effort. They were able to blind some of the members for Monsoon as well, forcing them a little bit to be more reserved. But here comes the Cypher ultimate, that all-telling omnipresent ultimate, going to give a lot of information, and now it's up to what team to do with it correctly. And here comes some more information as well. Contra putting out the Alladron, will be quickly shot down, and the Astro Wall is going to deter a lot of the action, but on the backside, Dotbot will use that as a distraction, going to be able to peek through their own ulti, and it's going to be a 1 versus 1. The Astra battle will be crowned on over, and it's going to be Maeve yet again proving proficient at this agent, and not only that, but continuing to show that they have excellent game awareness. They were able to call where Astra is coming from in terms of the ultimate, and then beyond that, this gunfight was just incredible.
Yeah, I mean, definitely showing off as kind of that, you know, top fragger for the side of the Monsoons. And I mean, right now, I mean, we haven't seen, I don't know if we've seen really anything from Vapor besides that one round where he had the off. And I mean, if you could shut down the other team's top fragger, round's usually pretty easy.
Yeah, it's just an emphasis. Here comes some information given out. Tripwire will be put down. That's going to sit into the Astra orb. It's a great cloud. It's a one-way if you can only peek in one way. It's tough to do anything on beyond that. The Leer will be huge, and I'm new will actually get themselves around the Radiant boxes to defend this with quite ease, and they also had to run it back. Dotbot on the flank, though. This is not the gun you want to be flanking with the pitch. Unfortunately, it doesn't even matter. 4 HP, and they'll actually get the 1-for-1 trade. Maybe with a different gun, they'd had the opportunity to continue to frag out there. Here comes the ultimate anyway. Going to continue to even things up and man advantage as best as they can. But the knives are out, and Vapor is on lurk duty through mid, but they're completely spotted out. You had mentioned how it's easy to get a nice, easy advantage developed through the round if you can take out the top fragger for the enemy team. Vapor's not even allowed to play the game right now.
No, when you have a player who wants to be as aggressive as Vapor, when you absolutely shut them down like this, it can be so just mentally tilting.
That's the thing,
to
right?
deal with.
And it's not only the fact that they can't play this round, but how does this influence future rounds? Because if I were Vapor right now, knowing that I have the potential to top the leaderboards and put my team in my big backpack, but yet be forced to not be able to play the game by the enemy team, I would be suffering some tilt personally. But
Yeah.
we're different players. I mean, Vapor continues to pop off when the opportunity is presented, so it does show that there is a little bit more of that mental fortitude. As well, when your team's able to pop off like that, I'm new. Struggling to find an edge in the last round, but this time will put a huge advantage stamp on their team, and that's going to be a flank from Vapor. You talk about mental resilience. How's that for a boon? They're going to get the final kill, and they're going to get the defrag. That's how you start things back in your favor.
Yeah, and it really, you know, that's what I was going to say is the question becomes, do they start pressing? Do they start, you know, almost... Inting's not the right word, but it can sometimes look like inting because you're like, oh, I'm just going to run in there. I'm going to be able to take him out, and you just keep getting annihilated, or do you play it smart? Do you get the flank? And I think that Vapor did a very good job. Like I said, that's really only the second highlight we've seen of him, but it came at the perfect time just to kind of get his head back in the game.
I think there might have been some consideration for Vapor. I know you're doing really well, but every time that you go forward with an aggressive play, you get punished for it. So can you please play a little bit more reserved? I think maybe that was the conversation that Surge had in between rounds. They want to understand that, yes, Vapor can get some really quick and clutch plays, but they want to utilize, what do they call it? The path of least resistance, right? Vapor can continue to win gunfights. They don't need to put themselves in an overly aggressive front. If they hold an angle, they're more than certainly going to win that 1v1. Yes, they're not going to be the spotlight holder, but as we've seen before, most of these team players are there for the team, and they want the W either way.
Right, just because you can 1v5 20% of the time does not mean you should try and 1v5.
Isn't the motto for this whole thing, it's dangerous to go alone?
Yes. Yes, it is. And I mean, like I said, it's a great response here from Vapor, but the Monsoons with a nice start off here in this last round before we swap.
Nice Contra being found out through the smoke. That's always such a difficult position to put yourself in. Trying to both avoid being smoked out. Oh, here comes the Hunter's Fury. Will land on known so far, but if he gets one tagged up, the information can be crucial. Sage Wall will be huge, and this is going to take a huge amount of information and give it on over to Monsoon. And even though things are not looking too good for Surge, if they're able to get themselves united on this front, they are able to contest it. But the demonstration for how you play Maeve and Astra together, just almost a harmonious duet, and they're able to use this utility so well. It's going to be met by the discordance, that of Vapor, and he was able to wait for the time and the final moments to strike. That is an ace, I believe.
Yep.
And just as we were kind of criticizing Vapor not putting themselves on the main stage, they continue to go front and center here.
Yeah, and I think that one round where they're kind of able to reset, it put them in that fantastic spot where they didn't need to be the aggressive flanker, but they put themselves in a fantastic spot to be the flanker when the team needed them.
And this looked like a lot of utility being used, and this is such a tough angle when it comes to this site because you put yourself in this cubby back here, and it's a rough go to get out alive. Let's just say that.
Yeah, and once the Hunter Furies come out, there's just not much that Sova can do.
Yeah, and a great use of that ultimate. Yes, they didn't get any tags, they didn't get any damage, but the shepherding ability from that ultimate is huge, and it was used in such a way to not only buy time for the rotations, but to keep Monsoon from moving out from that cubby hold.
Yeah, and that's the other thing that you probably, you know, the Esports Tower really prides themselves on VOD reviews. They'll go back and say, okay, we probably should have had 3 people in that cubby while Sova's using the Hunter Fury, because it's basically just 2 people standing there, and if they both lose a gunfight like we saw, the Sova's basically just, you know, AFK because he can't do anything because he's trying to get that ult off.
Yeah, that section of the map is often referred to as barrel, and if you're in there, you're a fish. The wall will be immediately destroyed as soon as the doors drop down. And this means that neither of these teams want to hesitate and wait for the typical 45 seconds and start strat. And that's another thing to praise as well when it comes to how both of these teams approach attack and defense, is the fact that there are very few seconds wasted. They use every dial or every sand in the dial. And it's something of a beauty to see, because we often see too many teams just wait almost lackadaisically for the 45 seconds, and it's way less interesting to cast. Here comes some shots. Speaking of casting, it's my job to shine here, but no, unfortunately, spot will be taken away from me and given heavily on over to Vapor as they continue to push forward with a Ghost and Supremacy to boot. It must be dual wielding, I guess, here in this instance, as Vapor continues to push forward in the market. Going to consider maybe that's not the best idea with no backup. 2 members from that of Monsoon will approach from mid-market, but maybe not the best idea. It's going to be a little bit of hesitation here. They don't know exactly what point to press from, and with 2 members, it's hard to do a multi-front attack here, or at least retake. They almost have to get themselves unified on where they're attacking from, or something like this could happen. It could be beautiful, but it's a high-risky play, but it's going to look like it's going to work so far, as they're going to continue to push forward. Karma as well as Sage will continue to push forward. Damage will be given everywhere, and Cozy will actually get themselves one of the eliminations needed, and the Nanostorm grenade swirling over the head like a helicopter will actually do the damage. That is, again, not an orthodox spot to put that utility, and I wouldn't think of that either, and it's hard to avoid because you can't jump over it. If you jump, you're jumping right into it.
And for the Monsoons, so this does feel a lot like Game 1, as we can take a look at Vapor here. Vapor has found their comfort zone again, and when they're able to make plays like this, the Monsoons are going to be put in a very, very tough spot when he's getting kills through smoke.
Yeah, getting kills through smoke on the last bullet in the chamber, too. Forced to reload after, and that would have bought surely enough time for them to maybe reconsider a 3 versus 3 front, but that last member falling there, and unfortunately before Sage can get the heals on him as well, it's going to be dangerous, and it looks like another advantage being given over to Surge just from quick play and just deadly accuracy. Maeve using the door and then destroying it is a good idea, I think, but I think more often than not the door is a deterrent for time, and you have plenty of it in the bank right now. It also indicates whether or not the team approaching that side of the map is willing to consider more resources and utility towards it. So maybe it is more of a bait, and maybe it should be left alone with how Surge likes to play these kinds of maps. Just a question.
Yeah, because I don't think we saw the Surge take down the door.
Colby, you are brave, and I like it.
We saw, I think we saw the Surge do the exact same thing, though. They forced the Monsooners off A and then immediately destroyed him.
Oh, this is going to be huge. Any time that anyone stops slow stepping, if you are walking, it's going to be a huge opportunity for Colby, and they can start peeking maybe within the next couple seconds. They're going to wait for one of their members to give them confirmation that someone's here, and then this flank can be too almighty, and that's the information that Colby needs to swing into action. Are they able to get there fast enough to help their team? Because it looks like now Surge is surging on over to A site, and before, sooner rather than later, they want to get the spike down on the ground and force Monsoon to react. Colby going to be able to do, unfortunately, not much, as they're not in position to do so just yet. Dotbot and everyone else holding this higher angle. Here comes a nice 1v2. They're going to get themselves around the corner, but it doesn't look like they're going to be able to be alive for long, as the 1v1 goes again to the favor of Vapor, and it's just insane. They almost got a flawless there, yet they were the ones kind of stalling out for time.
Yeah, unfortunately for Colby, that play that we talked about, since he never got the confirmation, he never could make a play in time.
Right.
And so then eventually his teammates got flanked. And that's the risk with that play, is you almost have to kind of take the risk yourself, because if he had popped his head up kind of, you know, on his own will, he would have got a double kill easily.
I would say that normally, yeah, you'd have to put yourself in harm's way, but they did end up putting the tripwire there. It's just unfortunately that the two members that pushed through Surge had capitalized on the fact that Sage was there caught unaware as well. So that tripwire would have done the scouting research they needed to confirm that Colby could swing, but unfortunately not something that could happen. Ares is going to be picked up from the side of Surge. Again, that wall is completely vulnerable to bullets passing through it, and it is something you have to be pretty aware of in order to avoid that massive amount of damage from that high fire rate gun. Attacker ultimate coming out from Killjoy. Going to deter some defense here, but unfortunately for the side of Monsoon, it does not matter, because they are able to push through with Maeve being the front runner for damage and continual accuracy. This is just almost a clinic on how to use guns, Phantom or otherwise. They're going to continue to recontest. Here comes double Leers forward. Dotbot going to see what they can do, going through the wall, not able to get anything, unfortunately. As Vapor will pick up the slack there in terms of accuracy, will be taken out. And unfortunately, just for that reason, they were able to put themselves in the cubby and bait out the members from the side of Surge. And that's kind of how you want to do things when it comes to that contest.
Yeah, both these teams have kind of got caught in that barrel that we talked about.
It's a barrel.
I mean, Vapor did a good job trying to stay on site, be a bit more aggressive, like we'll see here in this replay, and try and keep them off guard. But when both Dotbot and the other member, I think I'm New, get caught back there, is we're going to see they ran out of places to go because there's really nowhere else to go.
Yeah, and that double Leer commit here from the side of Monsoon was huge in the sense that, you know, it not only is that cubby pretty vulnerable in the fact that it has 2 points that are pretty wide open, but if your only availability to see is out of those two cubbies and they got leered 2 times in a row, you literally can't see for like 6 seconds.
Yeah, the B attack for both these teams, I would say, is probably something that could use a little bit of overall work on defending when you put the spike down.
Surge wants to get that round in the practice. They want to go for it yet again, I think, and it looks like Contra doing a little bit of lurking to make sure they don't get flanked on. They do not have the Cypher for those tripwires and cages to defend it with ease. They have to commit a member for watching this back flank. But oh, here it comes. We saw the ultimate coming out here from Vapor, and a great idea to switch the camera on over, because I think maybe something spicy is going to happen for the Surge. They're going to be able to go into so many different flashbangs, though, and the deterrent and the amount of damage coming out from that gun is just too much for them to amount. They put themselves on a platter, and the remaining members of Surge are unfortunately not able to fulfill that recipe. They don't know the ingredients. Monsoon have the ingredients for defense here, and that's exactly the final piece. They're just going to put the thing in the oven and cook it till it's done. I'm New going to do what they can. They do have close to an ultimate. If they go for, they get 2 illuminations here, they can possibly clutch it up with getting that run it back, but here comes the utility. Hot hands will be used, no curveball or anything else of the like, and another round going over to Monsoons. When they struggle so far to find an edge on defense, they finally start figuring things out, and it is now the struggle of Surge to even get themselves onto the point.
Yeah, and you know, that Vapor ult, we talked about it. I mean, I understand why he popped it up, but he felt almost, you know, like he had to make a play with it, right? There's no reason for him to jump through all of that defensive utility,
right? Just
to get gunned down while he was flashed.
Yeah, it's tough, and kudos to the side of Monsoon waiting for even the hyper mobility of Jet to come out. They were able to predict where she would be after all of those dashes and jumps, and they were able to get her caught unaware in the midair. Not really something that you can do much about. You can't redistribute your momentum once you're floating in midair. Nice rotation, and it looks like Colby will be the one striking first blood for their team, and a nice one to do so as well. Colby getting the reset. It's going to be huge. They're able to keep themselves healthy. Here comes some more smokes from that of Dotbot. They're going to maybe swing onto B-side from a different angle, but here comes that run it back, and this is going to be a huge opportunity, maybe for a potential evening up of the frags. Unfortunately, Dotbot will have to use some of that ultimate to deter it, and this is going to be now Monsoon's responsibility to push onto a point with a relative disadvantage. Are able to go for the 1v1 shots. 59 health will be the remainder of that of Dotbot, but they do not know where this remaining player is. They are able to find it out with the pistol, and the rest of the members are there to back them up. And they're going to get this planted and it force Monsoon to come sprinting on over, because this puts the timer on the clock, and it's going to be a 3v3 that.
You just got to stay out of that back room. And I think you can see Dotbot learn their lesson from last time.
They're not even going to consider retreating back into there unless they're forced to, and There's not a lot of resources that Monsoon have to force to do so, except now that that 4v3 is coming out because of the ultimate. Puts things more on a stress there front. No, they're going to even it up. Unfortunately, through the wall and through the peak, it's going to be an even 3v3 health advantages. We'll be moving over to that of Monsoon, and they continue to trade it up, putting themselves back in that corner. You cannot do this if you want to have a more defensive front. These angles may be scary to hold, but you got to keep yourself away from the site once you plant.
Yeah, if I'm the Surge, I think you got to try and stay away from the B side at this point. Because they, instead of standing in the barrel, they just stood in front of it.
Weapon here.
Yeah, and the barrel's in a corner of a room, actually.
Yeah.
I mean, look how many access points you have to go to the point.
Yep.
And then look at the only ways out of the point, which are two-directional, very scoutable. Hold these angles. Maybe even this point's a little bit too overzealous because that's typically where a lot of people peek at first once getting access to B point. You can force yourself to go out, go back to that brick wall, hold that long corner from defender spawn, and then maybe even have someone mid-market to swing to defense on either side. Putting yourselves in that corner is a really dangerous move.
Right there.
Right there. Able to call it out. They knew that someone had jumped, I think, due to auditory cues, which is a great advantage they have. They know that someone can't contest, and they are getting shot from behind. They were able to see the bullets pass and zoom by their head. No damage being given out just yet. No team figuring out what point to bolster their either A or attack, or defense on. There's just going to be a lot of people peeking around mid right now, as it looks like Surge is maybe considering going A to contest. They haven't approached that side of the map in a while, and with how the B site attack hasn't gone so well for them, that might be a great time to reconsider. Does not matter, though, as it does look like Vapor's going to be able to get a flank here. And the more time you let Vapor operate, the more time you let them unstifled and unchecked, the more you're going to suffer casualties like that. You got to be careful, as it looks like Cruz is looking for an opportunity to scout things out. Vapor looking to get themselves onto the point before anyone else needs to. They do not have the spike, so this is just a defensive front. Hunter's Fury will tag up one, goes for a second shot, but the Tailwind will dodge it out. Information still given. I don't think they were able to track this Vapor down after the dash, but no, it does look like they were. It's going to make it a 3v2. The spike has been planted, but more so than eager is going to be this team. Contra be able to hold this 1v2. No, they will go for a 1v1 trade. And now it's up to Cozy whether or not they can hold this back. Unfortunately, they got caught using the utility. They need to have the gun out to press, and that will be a defuse and a 11th round win over to Monsoon.
Cozy had the perfect opportunity.
Great idea, yeah.
I just think he got a little overzealous.
You got to wait. I mean, yes, it's a little bit tricky. You do only have a few seconds to contest once the defuse starts. But when it comes to this kind of thing, it's kind of a 50-50, especially when it comes to B point. You can try to retake from either side of the point. And because of the fact that Monsoon only had 2 defending, there was no way they could have held both angles. It was just a coin flip, and unfortunately, Cozy made the wrong flip.
Yeah, if he had waited a little bit longer and then trying to rush in and take the defuse, he probably would have got him. It was, like I said, it was the right play. He just got a little bit overzealous. He saw the head, and if you can't make those shots land, just unfortunately the wrong play. But I like the idea from Cozy.
Okay, Lear utility of every kind being used here. The wall will be instantly demolished as well. No damage being given out, but that's exactly why you have this utility, is to say, hey, can you please take the damage for me? Oh, this is such a smart play. Scythe on a very interesting angle to peek. No people, or not a lot of players, I'll say, would stay themselves back here. Oh, unfortunately, Owl Drone will spot it out, and here comes the swing onto the right side. And just like that, members will drop here, left and right. Surge will be the one suffering the more casualties until that gets evened up. I'm New continuing to proving that that name is a lie, as Colby wants to hold this from an angle. They are able to get things figured out and knew exactly where I'm New is. Going to make things a 2 versus 3, but they do still have the the attacker Killjoy ult. They can continue to use this, as Cozy would force a lot of the members from Monsoon to retreat the point. And then beyond that, in tandem with the Hunter's Fury, there's only so many places you can go. These 2 ultimates together are actually a pretty devastating front. Going to go for the shoulder peek. Unfortunately, it's going to be Maeve, showing that they know more than just one gun. Accuracy is the name of this player. She continues to show why she's one of the premier players in this league. It's going to be a 1 versus 1 challenge. They don't need to force the bill too often or much at all. They know exactly where Spike is, and it does not look like Surge has access to it. They have to win consistent 1v1 to get to it. And it looks like that's going to be the call here. Unfortunately for them, Colby will be the first challenger, and there's no need for any more. as a 12th round win and a match point opportunity for Monsoon is now on the table.
Yeah, it was a great job. I think it was, Karma who started with the operator. He got taken out. Maeve going over and pick it up. And that's what we talked about. We hadn't seen many players on the Monsoon use it, and the operator shows its power. Now, 3 ults up for the Surge. When you're up against match point, I mean, you definitely have to use them. You don't want to lose a game because you were holding on to any of those. So I would expect, we know Vapor's going to use his. The question is when Cozy and Contra are going to throw theirs in.
Yeah, I think Hunter's Fury from B side is kind of just a gimmick to try and say I can get as much information as possible. But we've seen Vapor in this situation before where they were unable to overcome the amount of both deterrents, stuns, disables that this team from Monsoon is able to use. And just like that, I'm New gets completely rewound back and going to be forced back to their spawn. Here comes that attacker Killjoy ult. And they're going to go for a quick, swift fuse here, or a plant. And they do not have much of a members advantage, but they are able to buy themselves some time with this ultimate that is now over as it's been destroyed. So now the question is being sent to Monsoon. Can you guys recontest this, having a 4 versus 3? And it does not look like it's starting out too well. 4 versus 3 will be even up to a 3 versus 3. No Sage ultimate to save the mistakes of your teammates now. Here comes the Sage. Well, they knew that they're going to be up there, but they were actually trade 1 for 1. And on the back end, it's going to be another trade as well. Contra going into things a little bit too aggressive, but Monsoon will actually get things going for them. And Maeve, we've seen this name way too many times for this team, but that's exactly why she is on this team, to continue to clutch up and get themselves tied up in the series. Yeah,
fantastic response by the Monsoons, being able to not only start out very dominant in that game, I think going up 6-0 at one point, but we saw the Surge battle all the way back, tied it up at, I believe, 7-7. And really just a great job by the side of the Monsoons to hold their composure and be able to pull that map win off and force us to a game 3.
Yep, and we can hear the music again.
I don't know about that one.
Kudos to both teams. I think they were able to identify what worked for them in terms of strength and just the ability to reset from map 1 to map 2. Monsoon really identified that a huge thorn in their side from map 1 was Vapor, and they were able to let Vapor operate a little bit. They had a couple show-off rounds, but beyond that, they were completely nullified.
Yeah, I think it's going to be the Vapor versus Maeve show, and whichever top fragger pops off is probably going to be the team that wins. And because it'll be Vapor was basically nullified, had that one huge round, and we never saw him again. So I'm really curious how the team's going to handle in this break between games 2 and 3 for the Surge. I mean, how do you get to Vapor and say, look, man, if you just keep doing what you're doing, take it a little bit slower with that jet ult, we can win this game. We can win on our next map. We can win the series, because I think Vapor is that X factor for both sides, honestly.
It could just be a swap. I mean, switch over to Reyna, where you're able to continue to be aggressive, but re-heal once you get that 1v1 in your favor.
Yeah, don't forget, if you want to be, I guess we're just going to never mind. We're going to go right into the next game here. So I will go on to Icebox here for game 3.
This is going to be it, and I love this map so much. We see the return of Sky from Monsoon, and they are drafting the Viper. Not a lot of people know about this, but Viper and Sky, despite one promoting Life and one promoting Toxin, are actually very good together. They have a really interesting synergy where most of what Viper offers in terms of smokes or walls, that obscurity that she can offer, prevents Sky's bird flashbangs from flashbanging her own team. So you can kind of be a little bit more accurate with those birds without having to go around corners and avoid capitalizing on the front point. I know a lot about Sky, let's just say that. Anyway.
No, I mean, I think that's one of the things that I think is really interesting about games like this, where there is that sort of, you can't just keep heaving stun grenades like some games like Call of Duty, because you don't have to worry about it. I do like how there is that sort of tactical, where we talked about it with, I think I'm new, where he ended up flashing his team as much as he flashed the enemy team.
Yeah, this is going to be 5 members on each team meeting on this A side. Challenge from, it looks like Contra going to get the headshot. No need for the second headshot, and it looks like Vapor actually switched over to the Rain, and look how much they're doing on this representative of why you can pick a duelist that's a little bit more of a conservative style. Yes, you continue to pop off because you have the ability to continue to reset, but you garner and boon yourself so much on each individual kill, as opposed to Jet, who has to wait for that big ultimate to kind of pop off. Reyna can pop off every round if they continue to get frags.
Yeah, as long as the Surge can enable Vapor to be free and not be, taken out early. In fact, we talked about the healing there to to be able to continuously contest. I mean, you absolutely called it. Get away from the jet, get onto that Reyna. As you mentioned, it's a bit safer, but I think it fits into that play style of taking multiple 1v1 gunfights a lot better than the jet does when the jet ultimate isn't online.
Yeah. Unfortunately, a criticism, if one a brief, that Sage wall was what split the teams in a way that was incredibly advantageous to Surge, because they had the full access from their side of the point, whereas the attacker side was split by their own Sage wall. And unfortunately, they were able to get shepherded on one side and ran right into the welcoming arms of Vapor. Shots along the dark side, though, of this, going towards Kitchen, and a almost instantaneous, flawless talk about shepherding. And that's exactly what we like to see when it comes to a nice defensive front. A lot of the time when B's considered for a challenge, most teams send maybe one representative up to Kitchen. They can put a wall in that tunnel leading up to it. We see maybe one or two members going from the backside of B, and then beyond that, maybe some going underneath the ramp. Having 5 members go to Kitchen is really strong if you can guarantee that the defenders are rotating from spawn to there. But as we quickly saw, it looked like something that Surge was completely prepared for.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of pressure for the Monsoons right now on Cruz in particular, just because we've talked about he is the IGL for the Monsoons. Because those last 2 rounds, not only did they lose, they got dominated. So he needs to be able to resettle this team very quickly in a game 3, because this could get out of hand in a heartbeat.
Yeah, oh goodness, Vapor on the flank with a very flank-heavy gun, and of course have the Empress available, which continues to almost skyrocket the rate of fire for any gun that she has in her hands. And that's exactly why they picked this. The Spectre's going to go ballistic, that they can find some people to click on. Moving forward, gonna get some nice access from the backside, and no one's able to scout it out. No one's watching the back flank, and it's disastrous for that of Monsoon yet again. But as things continue to settle, they've almost tied things up. It's 2 versus 1, and it does not look like they're able to they get the spike planted, but it's going to be a defuse left in the hands of Vapor as they continue to show prowess on this Reyna.
Yeah, absolutely insane play from Vapor. I think a fantastic job in between those games, just settling back down, and really looks like right now might be the big reason why they're going to end up winning this game.
Yeah, it's going to be top of the leaderboard if someone were able to hit tab, but you have to question, oh, actually, I see. They weren't able to put anyone back there because as they moved forward, they were taken out in tandem. It was almost as if Vapor rotated with them onto the backside of this point, and maybe they just considered them as another member, because when it comes down to you sprinting as a team, with all those loud footsteps going off, it's so hard to discern who's sprinting behind you, if it's friend or foe.
I mean, with the Monsoons, I mean, I'll be curious to see how they respond, because that was their best round, but they still ended up succumbing to Vapor, and it's going to be probably Maeve, but really anyone on this team needs to step up and stop that Reyna very quickly at this point.
Yeah, I'm even starting to have a little bit of heebie-jeebies not knowing where Vapor is on the map, and I think there does need to be a bit of a more concerted effort towards watching these back flanks and give a lot more respect to the flank opportunity from Vapor, but it doesn't matter. It's just, again, a blink of an eye. 2-3 members from Monsoon are quickly taken out on this A point. Contra showing why this gun is so powerful, especially when you are able to get things locked on. Karma will tie things up, but Vapor with 2 quick shots and 2 quick elims will continue to flesh out this round, and it's just a 4 remaining. They're only taking 1 or 2 members off at a time. This is looking dangerous for Monsoon.
And this is the Monsoon team that we saw after our first game, where they didn't get, stomped this hard, but they were able to rally. I mean, they have plenty of time. We saw they had a 6-0 lead in game 2 before it ended up getting tied at 7. But somebody's got to come up with an answer to Vapor. Now that he's not on that jet, it's a lot harder for him to kind of run blindlessly into the team and get taken out, which is kind of their saving grace on Ascent.
Yeah, it's so tough, though, because, and this is why they've swapped over to this side of the map, because A site on Icebox is, some people may argue this, but it is very defender friendly. There are so many advantageous points. You have a lot of verticality. You don't have to further extend yourself a huge amount. It's not equidistant from both sides, and that's just something that Surge is able to be continually able to defend on. Here comes the Seekers as well. Wild as they may be, they are quickly tamed, not able to find out anything, but being shot down does give information over to Sky and the team to say, hey, someone's over here to shoot this down. Here comes the Sage Wall as well. continue to deter things, and the slow orb will do so as well. Surge is going to be able to look for an opportunity here, but they are 4 versus 5, and that is a Viper ult coming out and trying to get as much opportunity to nullify any sort of push onto this point. Sage Wall continue to be pushed here. No more Sky resources available as 15 health, 19 health now. It's going to be available for the side of this attacker, and Surge are quickly falling like flies, not able to get themselves onto this B point as successfully as they were able to hold A, and this could be exactly what they need to do to swap things up. It's just one with the showstopper, but does not actually get it down and locked, and here comes an attacker response, the first one that we've seen from the side of Monsoon on this map.
And that was just a fantastic ult by Colby to set up that whole play. As you mentioned, there's just no way for the Surge to be able to healthily push onto that point. You can see they're just kind of stuck waiting on the outside of that Viper ult, and they can't find a way in at all.
And that's why it's so important to make sure that you can, maybe if you can, give your eliminations over. We see Colby almost 100% sprinting towards ultimate orbs because they know how much agency they have when they're able to put down that Nova. And to be fair, it's going to continue to boil down to whether or not Surge is able to come up to the challenge of defending this B point or force Monsoon to consider challenging a different point. I don't think with the way that last round went that Monsoon consider going to A anytime soon.
No, and without that ult from Colby, I'll be curious to see how this round goes, because that was really the first break the Monsoons had gotten all game.
They know that someone's on the other side of yellow. They're going to push forward, and with that swing, it's going to be huge, forcing things down to a 2 versus 3. No showstopper available. They do still have Hunter's Fury. Have to be careful with how long and how short these angles are they peak. Looks like they were able to get taken out from the long con. And just like that, they were able to bait Monsoon into pushing a little bit too far forward. The long angles were that of power for Surge, because when it comes down to it, you know, these long angles are exactly what's offered there on A. You're able to say, oh, they're across the way, they have to take all these ropes, or they're able to walk 75% of the distance to point A. Well, we'll just hold the same distance on B and make them walk in us and continue to falter to the gunplay.
Yeah, I thought that was a great round also by the Surge, because they didn't have that pop-off from Vapor. So they're still proving that this isn't just a one-man show and the rest of them are here, you know, just to be able to make sure they can play in a 5v5 game. I think the rest of the Surge team do a great job complimenting Vapor, but also when he gets taken out, have their own individual skills that allows them to pick up rounds like that.
And huge still respect to the fact that maybe A will be considered. Yes, the B push didn't go so well. Most teams kind of swap when things don't go the right way on one side versus the other. The dart will, I do believe, miss, but the information still gathered regardless. They know at least one member's here. It can be for lurk purposes, so you can't say one member's here, so they're all here. So I do like the reservation of not full sending the entire squad over to A, but the more information they gather, the more confirmed that can be as an opportunity. We see Vapor not on the defensive, or sorry, the flanking front, but instead on the defensive one. They're putting a lot of respect into how powerful Monsoon is as a group team. But they continue to force Monsoon to be isolated, and this could go quickly their way. It could be a quick flawless. It's just Sky versus the world, and they know what they are. The shoulder peak will be huge as Vapor continues to be the one to capitalize the end of the rounds. And great job from both teams. Monsoon's forcing a huge amount of respect coming out from Surge, and then Surge saying, well, we do not want them to group. They are a really good 5v5 team. Let's put them in consistent 1v1 so we can maybe win out that way.
And I'm going to be curious, because Dotbot, we didn't get too much play from them on our last map, and I'll be curious how they maybe answer what we saw from Colby with that Viper all a couple rounds ago, because Dotbot has it available, and we've seen the power of it when used on this map in particular, so it's kind of on Dotbot. If he uses it right, could be just a free round, and they could put the Surge up 7-1.
Yeah, it's so tough. It's essentially, I'm turning off this side of the map for you, and that's exactly what they look like they want to do. Interestingly enough, though, they didn't turn off B side where they've succumbed that one round loss. Instead, they want to continue to bolster the defense on A side. The paint canister will come out. Here comes the boombot as well. Shots will be given over, and it looks like something beautiful for the start of Monsoon. They don't even need to even go to a point, and this is exactly why Icebox is so unique. You can continue to win an advantage by pushing through mid, not even considering or pushing yourself onto a point, and now it's a 2 versus 3. They have all the ultimates, but it's on the other side of the map. Shots will be given over, and it does not look like Dotbot needs to do anything too drastic. Going to continue to hold this front by themselves. I do, again, like the ability for both these teams to respect the opportunity from one point being attacked versus the other. It soon will be a Viper v Viper battle, but A will be the actual point. And this is, again, a familiar territory for that of both teams. Monsoon able to get things down, but unfortunately for them, they will be able to take things out. 1 versus 1 will continue to be the style. Health does favor that of Monsoons, but we've seen this point be a huge deterrent for Monsoons to even get things won. Yes, the health advantage will actually go over, and they will finally get themselves a round in favor on point A. And it just looks like maybe they played the pacing and spread out that of Surge's defenses a little bit too thin for them to cover everything.
Yeah, and I mean, you know, sometimes in a game like Valorant, just because you lost the gunfight doesn't mean you didn't actually help your team. Karma didn't get the kill on to Dotbot, but he got him to 30 HP, and that ended up probably being the difference in that 1v1 between the two Vipers. So sometimes, you know, the assist can be almost as critical as the kill.
Going to put a lot of utility here on Tunnel. They know now that you know, Monsoon's willing to go through mid if at all possible, but here comes the ultimate, and the knives will come out from now Monsoon's Jets, and see if they're going to be able to show as much prowess as we've seen on Vapor before. Pushing all 5 members onto this point. Alodron will be given out, not be able to be blinded. Karma continuing to use as much utility as possible to get their team safely onto the point, and that's the start of something beautiful. Colby actually able to take out Vapor, one of the key fraggers, and one member that desperately needs to stay alive as long as possible for Surge to have a stronger chance of taking this down. Sith will take the ultimate and continue to hold this front, and this is kind of what you like to see when it comes to a Jet. Yes, you have the knives out. You can go with the hyper-aggressive diving into the enemy team front, but instead using the ultimate for defense, switching over to pistol to capitalize on the last few HP points on that pool. Here comes the dog, trying to get as much of a distraction out as possible. With the shot coming from this angle, I think they're pretty privy to where Cozy is, but not able to do so. Crew's trying to do what they can to try and get some lockdown.
Spike planted.
There goes the spike as well. It's going to be a 1 versus 3, and they're looking for maybe exit eliminations as possible. Can't sit too comfortably here, though. You have to either look for the exit kills or conserve the operator as much as possible, because it is such a large monetary investment. Considered maybe using the ultimate there, but we saw the reservation of saying, it's a 1 versus 3. Me going into that, it looks a little unlikely, so they're going to continue to peek these long angles. They might be able to find someone shortly if they were able to watch that point, but unfortunately, folks, they are not able to see the silhouettes such as we do. We have, of course, that spectator view. Looking for some more continued long angles. Exit eliminations could be huge here, and they missed out on the crucial shot, but they've also sounded the alarm. They know where this Killjoy is, and Cody's got to be careful, otherwise they're going to continue to get swarmed on. We're able to dodge away, though, and conserve that off. Maybe give it on over to Vapor?
Not holding himself.
Nope, they got it. They got this on lockdown, and this is such a great opportunity for them to now use this to hold a stronger front on B point. You know, because that whole thing is just an open wide angle, right? So the gun that has that long range supremacy, you want to have that in your hands if you're sitting there.
Yeah, and I think for this round, I'd be curious. We talked about Dotbot, didn't see the Viper ult used in an overwhelming sense, but Dotbot or Colby, excuse me, has his again, and this could be another way for Monsoons to win the round. And just like that, they could get it back to 6-4 if he wants to throw it down this round.
It's a lot more manageable than a 7-3 lead, you know, despite it, of course, being numerically a larger number. It does do a lot in terms of how many more times you can make mistakes, and it does not look like that's going to be the case. Colby looking for an opportunity, picks up 1, but will suffer a casualty on time for the team, as it looks like both fraggers are continuing to show some dominance here. It's a Vapor versus Colby in this instance, and here comes the operator to back things up. Here comes the resurrection in the backdraft as well. A lot of shock dart damage actually coming out from Cruz, and they're going to continue to find these targets. Cruz is popping off this round, putting it on a 2 versus 4, and will they be able to push forward? It looks like Contra tries to do what they can. They still have the Owl drone, have someone from mid as well to try and push this point, but it will be quickly taken out. I don't know if you should peek this angle. Maybe not. Put my foot in my mouth. They actually have the operator, and then we look to turn things around here.
At least protect the operator. That's got to be goal number 1.
Generally the theme, yeah. If I can't win this, I'm going to save this. But, I mean, if this peak happens and it goes to the favor of Contra, a 2v1 with an operator is not a tall order.
I think he's
completely safe.
Yeah, he's recognized the main priority here, which is totally fair. If you can get maybe an exit elim, that'd be perfect. But you want to hold on to that monetary investment that your team made at all costs. And not give it over to the other team for free. That's the other big one.
Yeah. I mean, attacker operator is a little interesting on Icebox, but it is something that can be used to great effect. Unfortunately, I think for the save position, there was a very small chance of getting any sort of exit eliminations because it was on the polar opposite of the map. Get it? Polar opposite?
I see what you did there.
Nice.
I mean, I will say there's got to be a point, though, for the Surge where if you do have your operator go down, you got to be a bit more aggressive with it. Not to say that they're going to get a 1v3, but that's now 2 rounds in a row that instead of attempting a 1v3, they've just saved the operator. And Cozy's had one elimination with it, but probably, as you said, attacking with an op on Icebox is always an interesting call, and it hasn't had that oomph that you're used to seeing with that gun as well.
Yeah, and I think it's falling into the wrong hands early in the round. You can put it on someone who does have the ability to make those shots happen. Unfortunately, Cozy trying their best, not able to get it locked down just yet, and they'll force a team member to go down in the process. And with that opening, it looks like Monsoons want to completely open it up. They actually are able to prove themselves worthy of the gun. Go for a second shot. Here comes the tailwind into it. 2 headshots, I think, there on this Jet. No, actually just maybe a body shot because they did not suffer too much damage on their health bar. Here comes the ultimate as well from Colby, and the ultimate coming out from Vapor as well. Here comes the Empress. High capacity, high fire rate. Cannot go through the wall just yet. They're going to have to peek around the corner. This corner's got to be watched for Monsoon or they will suffer the Vapor effect. No, they're completely mitigating it. How do you fight against Vapor? You don't fight against him at all. He cannot find any target. And he's at the 1 HP. He desperately needs this one tap, and he actually gets the reset. Going back to full health, and he's going to dash himself out of the way. It's going to be a 2 versus 1, but with that reset and that almost full armor, this could be something that can happen. The timer is ticking, though, and it is almost a couple seconds away for things to go too detrimentally away. Colby with the ultimate, freezing Vapor in their tracks. And there goes the Viper. That means there goes the ultimate. Here comes the reset. Going to go for a defuse. It's a full one, but here comes the catch through the wall. And it goes for it. Will you have enough time? No, the stall was huge. And Monsoon losing the gunfight consistently. Vapor popping off and getting a 3K. But it does not matter. They bought enough time to cash in another round.
All right, great to see you to the ult there by Colby. And as you said, how do you fight Vapor? Don't fight him at all.
Don't fight him. Yeah, but almost froze himself out. I mean, we've seen Vapor on both kind of fronts, right? The conservative, slow, methodical pace, and the I'm dashing into people corners, kind of almost wantonly. And I think in that situation, if you're trying to clutch things up, no one's going to come out of the smoke. It's completely a barrier for the team using it. Doesn't damage your teammates. So you had to approach the smoke and try to go for a 1v2 there. Here comes this. Oh, wow. What a fantastic shot. And that's kind of what we like to see from Colby, continuing to show up on this Viper pick. Have the Seekers out as well. Didn't find anything. But again, even if they get shot down, they're still marked on the map. And you can say, oh, they're here. And just like that, I think they use that information to say most of them are A point. Go for the sneaky plant B. And now they've forced Surge into a disadvantageous sprint onto this B side. Could be huge. They still have the Hunter's Fury. They do also have Killjoy ult on Surge, so it's possible they can just flush out the members from Monsoon. Looks like that's going to be the case. They're going to keep them at their arm's length, but that long shot from Karma from downtown will take things and put matters into their own hands. Does not matter if you're a Sentinel or not. They're pushed off the front, but they still have the long range to challenge. Here comes the Hunter's Fury. Here comes the push forward. This long B site will be met, and actually no, Vapor will pick up 2. He's going to go for a 3rd one. He actually gets it, but punished at the same time. And Monsoon will tie things up into the switch.
Both teams have, in our last 2 games, we've seen first the Monsoons, now the Surge. They got out to this hot start. The other team, great job with just in mid-game just tilt management, because with how this game started, you could see the Monsoons just kind of, rolling over and be like, hey, you know what, wasn't our week. Maybe we'll get them next time. Fantastic job by the Monsoons to rally here. I don't want to say they've handled Vapor, but they've neutralized him enough to get back in the game.
To tie things up, and again, that's got to be a huge mental boon, something that's not, given in terms of a statistic. Sorry, it's such a troll to put your gun up on there because no one else can get to it. But c'est la vie. It's such a mental boon for that Monsoon, because they struggled not only in a kind of a big way, but as you had mentioned earlier, as the score was a little bit more lopsided, they kind of got handled, and them being able to kind of wiggle their way out of the hole that Surge had demonstrated now giving them a nice equal footing for the continuing rounds. Here comes the Boom Blast forward. Here comes the Dog as well. Ulti Orb will be huge, but the Disorient's there as well. Here comes some more smoke from both Vipers. It's a toxic one here on this A site, but the shots will land, and I'm New continues to prove that this name can't be further from the truth. Pushing forward on the backside flank, and it is now a 3 versus 5 defense opportunity for Monsoons. It's all about the retake here, though, Fish. Does not matter if they continue to put themselves in a 1v1 situation like that, and 2 go by in the blink of an eye, and it's going to be a 3 versus 3 opportunity. The right clicks are not enough as Karma and Colby continue to push things forward. Colby continuing to hold the spotlight. Sorry this time, Maeve, but this round's not in your favor. Contrast up in the rafters, able to take things out will we fall to their death, and the defuse has plenty of time. And now Monsoons, for the first time this map, have an advantage in rounds.
Yeah, just a fantastic play. I mean, it feels like overall in this series, the Monsoons have been the better pistol team. I think this is the, I want to say, 5th out of the 6 pistol rounds they've won. And I mean, that just does such a great job because now they're able to sort of snowball into potentially going up 8-6, putting themselves just that much closer to victory. So we'll see if Surge can find a way to answer back, but we've kind of turned this almost into a team deathmatch. We've had a lot of high kill rounds. We've had a couple flawlesses, but a lot have been, 5 to 4 in terms of kills.
Exactly, and that's just, that's why these two teams are here in the finals, because they're evenly matched. They both have their strengths and weaknesses, and it's going to go end up and show. Maybe it's a switch to a different set of guns. We saw the first elimination go by so quickly, and it's just a matter of adaptation. This Marshall doing so much damage right now, but now they're stuck in the corner. The air burst and the tailwind will actually not be punished, since the judge will pick up 3 on the backside. The Ghost will pick up 2, sure, with wallbang headshots, and that's definitely something to brag about, but it's a shotgun play, people. I gotta get excited. Otherwise, it wouldn't be me. They continue with the Ghost, putting on the back foot because the lack of resources, and here comes that alarm bot. But the final punctuation in that round being now another Ghost elimination going over, and Monsoon continuing to prove that when they have to be on the low econ side of things, they're comfortable doing so. Here's where the question now becomes, Surge has money in their pockets. They can buy equal firepower. Does that change the rest of the game?
It's hard to say. I mean, after the first 6 rounds, I would have told you 100%. I think the Surge are favored, but the Monsoons have...
Oh, it's another judge.
Monsoons have come alive. I think a lot of the Monsoons' chances is going to rely on how many ults Colby can get in these next rounds.
Oh, that's not how you start getting ultimates.
No, but I think if Colby can maybe get 2 more, then I like the Monsoons' chances.
Wow, and look at that. Here comes the Empress is available for use, and they actually immediately pop it. A full frenzy here to the side. The Sage Wall will be used against them as they give them a corner to get themselves a spike plant. And that's such a unique opportunity presented by the other team. But gosh darn, is Sky annoying. These birds keep flying. I mean, I can't see when they do so. Shots along the backside. Maeve now saying, I want some of that spotlight. Karma holding this up angle, but have to be careful doing so. Will drop themselves on top of the wall, but it's not an angle that they predicted. They will fall into the Nanostorm. But now it is a 3v2. No, make it a 2v2. And it's going to be Contra and Killjoy versus the world. Cozy trying to back up Contra. They've done this before. Let's see if they can do it again through the smoke. And Cozy will put a period in this. It's going to be a tall order, and it's going to be one that maybe can happen, but the time is running out. The challenge needs to be put on Jet, and we've seen that silhouette. It's the furthest thing from the spike right now.
Yeah, just a fantastic round there from the Surge. A great first pick onto Colby to start, and that kind of set the tone for the whole round. And as you mentioned, there was a great use of the ice wall there to give them an angle.
And then falling into the Nanostorm, I mean, all of this was premeditated, right? They said, hey, they've given us a wall, let's not shoot it down. Let's put our resources on the spike that's on this other side of the wall. And because it's on that corner, normally it's super hard to defend the retake because it's so exposed. But because of that ice wall, they were just able to hold those long angles to get themselves 1 round away from tying this up yet again.
Cool. That's how you survive.
And again, though, I do think there's a lot of pressure for the Monsoons on Colby because the longer he can stay alive, the longer he can build up that Viper ult. He can give his team 2-3 rounds here, depending on how fast he can build it. And that gets them very, very close to winning these grand finals.
Colby needs to be the catalyst. Of course, Vapor using the ultimate to great effect there as well. Just got to keep both of these 2 members alive. We've talked about how there are some members that continue to show up in top performance, and need to be the catalyst for success, and it looks like it's these two this time. Here comes the Seekers, taking some of those bullets away. Vapor will take out one, go for the reheal, but Karma now picking things up as well. Gonna go for a two-piece, will not be alive for the world for much longer, but here comes the attacker Killjoy detainment, and Cozy's looking for any opportunity for them to retake. He actually got his detainment destroyed because it was put in a kind of pseudo-obvious position, but Contra here underneath, and the attackers will flush out every opportunity for Monsoon here in this round.
Now, this is a very, very well fought and very, very close series, 8-8.
Map 3.
Yeah, I mean, map 3, 8-8. Would not be shocked if we get maybe both teams in double digits, but...
Oh, let's get the overtime. Let's be here all night.
Honestly, and they've done a lot of this for the Surge here in this second half without Vapor really having that pop-off moment. You got a kill, but, I mean, again, the Monsoon's done a great job. They hear the Empress go out. We saw the quick flash. He is still 21 kills, still the top fragger by far on the scoreboard, but whenever the Empress has come out, they've just said, we're just not going to fight you.
And it's interesting because I think Surge have actually realized that. They keep putting Vapor in a position where they're absorbing so much pressure that the rest of the team members can get in a hugely advantageous spot. I mean, we just saw Contra underneath defender side for A, which is something that really can't happen without the defenders being aware of it. So it's just continuing to be kind of like the good old bait and switch. Vapor is more than willing to absorb all the attention from that of Monsoon, so that way their team members can get in the proper place. And this could be exactly that. I mean, look how far forward Vapor is compared to everyone else. Here comes the spike plant. All these Viper walls being used on top of each other. It's going to completely obscure one entire side of the map. Here comes the blind as well, and the Viper ult, and it's going to be something that maybe can be utilized. Dotbot using it, going to dodge out as much from these Hunter's Furies as possible, as Vapor is now looking to sweep things out. Nanostorm Grenade will be used on the spike. No one's there to contest it just yet. It's going to be a 5 versus 3. And they know where the members are. Everyone's falling left and right, but Dotbot not willing to concede this until they have to. Colby picking up 2 members. There's going to be another 3 members in front of them, and now they will pop their own ultimate. But unfortunately, the swarm from the remaining 3 Surge members will attack the point and stop that recontest dead in its tracks.
Yeah, unfortunately, I think that was, probably not the ult you wanted for the Monsoons.
No.
Because, I mean, we've seen the power of it, mainly attacking, but still, I think if Colby's able to get that off in next round, when maybe his team is in a 5v5 or a 4v5, that probably is a lot better than just trying for this, it wasn't even match point. That felt like a match point Hail Mary ultimate as opposed to its 8-8 kind of ultimate.
I think it could have been used faster.
Yep. If
you used it while in the cover of the Surge Viper ultimate, then you still would have been obscured, and they couldn't track you to the epicenter of the ult. It would have been more of a little bit of a distraction play. But, I mean, I like the intention. I think, when you think you have to get clutched up and you're willing to commit it, you have confidence in yourself, just something that, needs to be broad reviewed on the execution. And I like this play. Colby wants to get some quick elims guarding the ulti orb and say, hey, if no one's going to come contest it, I'll just pick this up myself. Going to back up a little bit, aware that no one's pushed A just yet from the information from their team, and don't want to throw away their life so easily because they know that they are a huge component of success for their team, and all members are now rotating to A. I wonder if Colby will pick up that quick ulti orb before they rotate in, but they have to get there quick because the remaining members for Surge are swarming onto A point. They're going to take out one. They're going to be taken out on the backside as well. It's going to be 4 versus 4. Make it 3 versus 4, and the Surge are quickly faltering. No. Vapor's still alive, and he's able to carry things a little bit further. Gonna go for the plant as well. Has the ultimate, does not pop it just yet, but the spike will be planted, will be met, and unfortunately for Cozy, that corner is just too easy to peek and rotate on. A 2 versus 1, all Vapor needs to do is watch his point, but unfortunately they went for the animation, and it's opposed to continued fire rate, and that will give this back up to Monsoon, tying things up yet again, Fish. We may actually be here for a long time.
Yeah, and that was a fantastic job by the side of the Monsoon being in a 2v1 and just both committing. Because I think if we saw Karma and Maeve kind of try and 1v1 Vapor, they lose that round. So it's a great job of using your teammates almost as an extra resource and saying, there's less chance we lose a 1v2 than we lose a 1v1. You see there, Vapor is still at 27 over 12.
Yeah, that's pretty impressive.
Yeah, nobody else even close. Karma is 17 over 16, a top fragger for the Monsoons. This is probably Vapor's round to pop off with the Empress and put his team maybe in a dominant spot.
For those questioning the Sage ult, I think that was a really good idea because essentially Maeve paid or cashed out her Sage ult for the cost of a Vandal.
Yep.
Most of the time you see people go for Sage ults and they get revived and immediately taken out. Zero value there. So as opposed to that, they actually guaranteed the monetary value of that ultimate. Don't question me, Twitch chat.
No, I think it's a good point because the only way we question him is in hindsight, right? Oh,
Yeah.
you could have revived. Well, they don't know that in real time. So I think you're right. Trade off the ult for the cost of a gun, and they get a pick onto Vapor as well, which means there's no Empress this round.
No Empress, and they almost got Dotbot as well. Looks like Cozy wants to back things up, and this is exactly why these teams work so well together. Over the course of this tournament, they start congealing and finding out maybe you didn't check this point. I'll watch it for you. Doesn't look like that's going to be an opportunity for Surge to get away with, though, as Monsoon continues to pick things up. Oh, no. They are now picking things up on their end. They didn't get Dotbot early in the round, so now able to hold this front defensively, and this Sky, unfortunately, cannot heal themselves. This doesn't look like a comfortable push from a Sky player.
No, I mean, it's the top frag of the game, and it's Karma who's been huge for this team so far to keep them in this game 3 that look lost at times. So maybe the person you want, but yeah, the health not in a spot. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
The health just not on their side. Nothing you can do in that.
Did trade away 55.
Yeah.
I mean, give or take whatever they lost during the initial exchange. But yet again, it's punch for punch right now, and it's going to be a question as to whether or not we continue that trend. Does Monsoon now pick up this round in return and tie things up 10-10, or can Surge start slipping away with a lead?
I think the round that Vapor's able to get the Empress off is probably the round where the Surge win.
Oh, so this round.
Yeah. I mean, maybe. He had it last
We'll
round, but
see.
this is where I would commit it, right? You give yourself a 2-round lead.
Right.
You can start to snowball your team, maybe if they get some more ults and if they're able to assist you on some of those kills. So I think it's really going to come down to when Vapor wants to use that Empress to give his team not a guaranteed round, but a very good shot at a round.
Colby doing what they can to try and get a nice cheeky angle here from that top play. Could be a meeting of the Vipers. Which snake bites first is the question. And it does look like Colby is coiled and ready to strike. They have to check both angles, and this is such a bad spot to be in. They know they could be challenged from both angles, but they were able to pick the right one. The coin flip will go their way, but they didn't turn around, and they will go for a 1-for-1 trade. That's not what you can afford to do so late in this map, and now forcing the remaining members from Monsoon to rotate, but into the welcoming arms of that of 4 members from Surge.
Yeah, another pick for Vapor with that Empress.
Okay, Empress gets immediately popped. No, the Viper ultimate gets popped. And Karma with the sniper play. But the rotation flank from Cozy, the lurk, is going to pop off huge as they get 3 members in their belt. Oh my goodness, what a superstar play and a crucial one to maybe win this entire set.
Yeah, it puts them in a fantastic spot. You're going to have the Killjoy for the next round to basically protect any spike plant you put down. And as you mentioned, Colby just didn't turn around fast enough after that kill and got headshot right in the back.
Boom. If maybe they continue to hold this, they take 2 for 1, make it an even 3v3, and it gives such an easier time to Monsoon. But because they left that extra member up, it was just too much extra damage, and they did falter for a round. And it's 11-9, which is a lot more of a dicey spot than maybe people anticipate.
Yeah, and we also said Karma had the op, so I don't know what the cash situation is going to be for him, but that could definitely put the Monsoons in another disadvantage in terms of overall money they're able to use in a round that matters by quite a lot.
1 under, 1 above. It doesn't look like Vapor could get that secured. Definitely shots and damage, but can be healed up. They go for the healer, though, and that's exactly the target you want to aim for. Does look like Cruz can get one in return, but it's a 2-for-1, and now it's a 4 versus 2, making a 4 versus 1 out of nowhere, and it's just Maeve versus the world. She cannot pull it off as Vapor continues to show dominance when they're on that aggressive cusp. And this could be it, ladies and gentlemen. Surge only need 1 more. You just heard at match point. Can Monsoon turn it around and bring it to an even 12-12, forcing the overtime? Or does Surge walk away with this?
I mean, Surge is going to have the ult advantage, but Colby, if he could get 1 more elimination, would have the Viper ult. Or even the ult orb.
And they have Seekers, too.
So I like Monsoon's chances this round. If they give Colby the ult orb, or he can get 1 elimination, he can use that ult, and they can kind of guarantee themselves maybe a win on a try and retake on a spike plant.
They are all going B long this time. No mid consideration, just straight to the point. No pun intended. And just like that, they're also using a lot of utility, blocking each other, but giving a lot of information over to the Monsoons. And some of that utility doesn't respawn over time, like you see maybe like the the slow orb or the healing orb from Sage. You know, sometimes those respawning abilities can be used frivolously. They are considering ramp. The slow orb will come out. They are, I think, aware of this happening. The rotation could be huge. They get away with it somehow. Sith was able to walk with one elimination. It will falter now. They do not have the Sage ult in place, nor is that player in a position to get access to it. Here comes, I'm sure, the attacker the detainment. But no, actually, Karma with the clutch elimination, finding the killjoy before they can drop the ultimate. That will completely nullify that for a chance of an ultimate. Here comes the Viper walls as well. One will be used, and it looks like they are able to deter this for now. It's a 3 versus... No, make it a 1 versus 4 out of nowhere, and it's just this one member, and they do have the spike. They may be considering going B, but IMNU does not have any resources besides that boom pack and the boom bot. The boom pack can be used for some quick repositioning. They do have a gun that has an extremely high damage rate, so if they can get these heads in the crosshairs, this can be huge, and that's exactly how you start it. Make it a 1 versus 3. Make it a 1 versus 2. That's what we like to see. The blind will come out, but only for a second. The spike plant will be real. They're not going to contest it because they don't think it's real, and the spike is planted. The timer's now on, and they are able to pull this off. Oh my goodness, they actually were almost able to. Karma, being the sole defender here, will go for the defuse and keep the chances for Monsoon alive.
Yeah, great job of Karma. If Karma was anywhere else, I don't know if the Monsoons win that, but the fact, I mean, you see 24 HP. But again, using your teammates as resources, he's going to shoot I'm new in the back, and that's the only reason that the Surge have to play one more round, potentially.
And I wonder what's going through the minds of both of these teams. They both have to kind of approach this disregarding the entire series.
Yep.
I mean, for that of Surge, it's just one more round. Yes, that's almost the same kind of mentality for Monsoons, but they have to do that 2 times.
Yeah, we see 3 ults up, both Hunters, Furies as well. I think a lot of it's going to come down
got
to
the ulti, though. And there it goes.
There it goes. I mean, yeah, that was the one you had to watch out for.
Right. And again, that just turns off a point from being accessible.
Yep.
They're going to force the whole swath of Surge players onto this A site. The only problem is this is their best half of the map. And here comes I'm New with the ultimate. The Showstopper won't be able to do anything as Karma pops off. We'll be taking out the 1-for-1 trade. And here comes the Empress. This could be what determines it all, folks. The Hunter's Fury will be dueling across the Scabbers here as they both go for the Sheriff High Noon kind of meeting at the turn of the draw, 10 paces. Not going to be able to get anyone eliminated, though, as 4 versus 4 will be the call. I do believe Colby rotated out, but it does not matter. We'll be taken out from Vapor. We'll get another reset as well. He's underneath maybe the most dangerous spot. But Sith is looking for a flank. Here comes the knives out. And this could be huge. He actually takes out Vapor with the knives. That's how you do it on Jet. Pushing through the Viper wall is going to be the last obstacle here. 3 members remain. Jet will be taken out, and it looks like another 2v2. This is inches away from going either way, folks. Looks like Cruz is looking for an opportunity. Cozy looks for a reset back on flank. Goes for the long shots. He gets the headshot. It's a 1 versus 1. It's going to be the heal versus the non-heal. And they actually clutch it up. My goodness, Cozy. The patience, the wherewithal. We'll give it on over to Surge.
Yeah, fantastic job waiting out, knowing that he had to defuse. Fantastic effort by both these teams, but in the end, the Surge are your champions. Contra, Cozy, Dotbot, Vapor, all fantastic players. But, I mean, that close, really. I mean, there's no reason to think that next time that it won't be the Monsoon picking up the victory.
Yeah, it's almost like a 50-50. It could have went either way.
Well, you want to be seen by expert college recruiters? Talk directly to esports insiders like pro athletes, team general managers, and game producers? Then join the club. Esports Tower players get insider access to industry insights. With our featured Rumbles, recruiters are starting to take notice as well. It's a great way to score your exposure if you're looking to start your path to pro or land a collegiate scholarship. Congratulations to Team Surge on winning Week 3 of the Esports Tower Valorant Rumble. They showed the great practice, even in a short amount of time, can really lead to fantastic things. Excited to see both these teams back in future Rumble events and looking forward to next week because those Monsoon and Surge, everybody else, they're chasing. I mean, the Lightning we talked about challenged the Monsoons in group play, but those teams looked incredible today in this 3-game series.
Yeah, the bar's definitely been set high, but that's the coolest thing about these kinds of opportunities is once the bar's set, it's always what team is the fastest one to grab it and raise it again another instance. So it's just going to continue to compile on itself, and we're going to see even more and better things out of these teams and players.
Yeah, and speaking of players, it is time for the ICCU player of the game. I think there's one logical choice, but I'll let you make any argument you might want to make, Baratel.
I didn't see Vapor ever pick up a shotgun.
Oh, that's a tough one.
Can I give it to Vapor's Reyna?
Sure, you can do that.
All right.
Just Vapor's Reyna.
Yep.
I don't know if that's how it works.
And then
but
Cozy for the rest of the two maps.
I mean, Cozy got the eventual game-winning double kill in 1v2, so we will see who it's going to be. I think it's got to probably be Vapor.
Yeah.
Because he was absolutely fantastic. And it is going to be Vapor. I believe it's his second ICCU player of the game for the Esports Tower Rumbles in Valorant. Brought to you by Idaho Central Credit Union. They believe a great player makes the team more successful. It's like Idaho Central's helping members achieve financial success. Vapor is your ICCU player of the week for this grand final. Actually, I think did have the stat. If you don't count Vapor, Monsoons had the better KD. True. Vapor was the one who pushed it over the edge inside of the Surge, and when you have a player this talented, that'll happen sometimes.
Yeah, but that's exactly what you look to develop for. Sometimes players are a little bit more strategic-minded, can make those sentinels work a little bit better, or initiators, and sometimes people are just better mechanically with the guns, and that's why you put them on the duelist. Like, hey, press W and then click them.
Yeah, but I mean, at the end of the day, as you talked about, I mean, Vapor ended up having to swap over to the Reyna. The Jet wasn't working. And also, I mean, Cozy and the rest of the team played fantastic as well. It was not a 1v5. I think Vapor did a good job of getting first blood and turning that into multiple kills. But the rest of his team, they all fit into their roles perfectly. In a game like Valorant, you don't always have these sort of, oh, this guy's, going to get all the kills because he's the best. It's because, okay, this guy's, he's the entry fragger, he's the smoker, etc. So great job by the whole team. And as we close out this grand finals, your final thoughts, Baratel, on the night.
This thing is awesome.
That's a good way to put it.
Again, this is my first time being part of this particular broadcast, so I'm kind of blown away. There were times that I was stumbling over my words, which sometimes happens because I'm a human being, but because of the fact that they did some things that I haven't even seen on the collegiate level. So that just means that these are kinds of players that are, again, as mentioned already, being scouted for collegiate scholarships or paths to pro.
Yeah, these players are absolutely insane. Cannot wait to see how they get better and better in the coming weeks. We will close out with our top 5 plays presented by the Idaho Army National Guard, who invites you to take your impressive critical thinking skills into real time. More than 10 jobs offering a $20,000 bonus and your degree of choice paid for. The Idaho Army National Guard is the best team out there. Reach out on Twitch at iGuard Gaming. Cannot wait to see what's coming up next in the Esports Tower. But if you're a Boise State fan, you might stick around on the Twitch page. We've got some cool things coming up a little bit later this evening, so don't go anywhere.
Not on the defensive, the flanking front, but instead on the defensive one. They're putting a lot of respect into how powerful Monsoon is as a group team, but they continue to force Monsoon to be isolated, and this could go quickly their way. It could be a quick flawless. It's just Sky versus the world, and they know what they are. The shoulder peak will be huge as Vapor.
The more composed he can be, that's usually going to be a better result for your team.
And he's got the recon as well as 1 shark dart available. Only had 4 health chipped out. Did have some armor, so they were able to get a little bit of that available. It's going to be Ghost versus Ghost here around the corner. And a headshot will be met. Will he go for the 2? And they are able to do so. Karma putting the spot.
Which is going to put them at a definite disadvantage.
Peeking out of the wall could be huge, and here comes the rest of the shots. It's pistol versus AR, and that's not going to go very well to the members of the pistol gang. Does not matter, though, as the rest of everything comes out. They actually pick up the Ares, and the massive amount of bullet spray from that gun is going to be huge. They go for the 2 right clicks, and more emphasis on what they can do. Are they able to challenge? Cozy going to put the alarm bot down, not really needing to do much else beyond that, but the Astra's got the ultis here as well, and the orb met with things pushing through the Viper wall is going to be the last obstacle here. 3 members remain. Jet will be taken out, and it looks like another 2v2. This is inches away from going either way, folks. Looks like Cruz is looking for an opportunity. Cozy looks for a reset back on flank. Goes for the long shots and gets the headshot. It's a 1 versus 1. It's going to be the heal versus the non-heal. And they actually clutch it up.